It is the Jason Gregor Show coming to you live from the Ewell Studios. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson with you here today as we've got a lot to talk about on the show, and we've got an absolutely loaded lineup as well to get to. Today on the show, John Hodge from 3 Down Nation. He'll be by at 2:20. We'll talk a little bit about the Edmonton Elks officially announcing today their new owner, Larry Thompson of Thompson Brothers Construction, sold the company. A local guy, from what he said, was going to games since 1972. He is now the owner of the Edmonton Elks. He spoke to the media earlier today. So we'll talk about that a little bit, get everyone's thoughts. You can send that in to 1-833-401-1440. That is the Ewell inbox. Also, Will Backus going to join us, covers college football for CBS Sports. We're about a week and a half away. I mean, college football is going to be here before you know it. Who doesn't love sitting down on a Saturday doing nothing but watching a little bit of football? Declan Kruger puts his hands up. He likes doing that. I like doing that. Donovan's over here. I think he likes doing that. So we're going to talk some college football as well, some big picture stuff. Let people know maybe who they should be looking at if they're going to throw some futures down on a Heisman winner, who could be someone that might be looked at. Maybe your team needs a number 1 overall pick. You know, I'm not going to throw any franchises under the bus here and say who it might be, but if you need a top pick, we'll let you know who you might want to watch out for as the college football season progresses. Also, Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation, a friend of the show, almost like a co-host at this point. He's going to be coming by at 3 o'clock to join us. We will hear from Kevin Carius at 3:20. He was down at the announcement, of course, took it all in with Larry Thompson and the Edmonton Elks. So KK will hop in. We'll get his thoughts on that and maybe a few other things. Nathan Rourke and the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers, those offer sheets still being pondered by Oilers management. Colin Livingston for the Cantor Race Report. We had some excitement in the world of motorsports over the past weekend. We'll talk about that. Eddie Steele, if you might, not have clued in already, we're going to go pretty heavy on football today. Of course, Eddie Steele played for the Green and Golds, more specifically the Eskimos back in the day. Won a Grey Cup. You can also hear him on the Kevin Carius Show on Friday morning. So we'll talk to Eddie, just get his thoughts. He was also down at the announcement. What can we expect changes-wise? And some news and notes. The name was brought up. Mr. Thompson saying that that's not the first order of business, not something they're worrying about right now. Also talking about facilities. He said maybe there could be some modifications, perhaps a new one. What does that mean? We'll see what Eddie Steele took away from the press conference. A spec will be by at 5 o'clock. And then at 5:20, we're going to talk some Minnesota Vikings with Arif Hassan. If you are a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I know there's many of you in our city and listeners to the station, it's been a tough few days. Jordan Addison, he went down with injury after going up for a ball coming down. Looks like ankle injury, and there's a good chance he might actually get away from it without having too many, a serious injury. Also, their quarterback, first-round pick, J.J. McCarthy, he is done for the season. So Sam Darnold's going to be the number 1 guy in Minnesota for the Vikings. How does that impact Justin Jefferson and the rest of that team? We'll talk about that and more with Arif Hassan later on in the program. Declan Kruger alongside with me. Just wrapped up 2 hours on the Lowdown with Low Tide. Declan, just want to start off asking you how you're doing today. And then also, what did you take away from Larry Thompson and what he said down at the Elks press conference earlier today?
Yeah, well, first off, like a touch of a headache here. I'm going to go get some water and rectify that. But other than that, all good. Spirits are high. I thought it was, I think, for the most part, it was what we expected. Don obviously did a great job down there, tweeting out some of the stuff that's coming from Larry, talking about, double E is going to be the identity moving forward. I think Randy echoed that, and maybe that was the one thing that there were some question marks about. We weren't sure how that was going to play out, but I'm interested to see how it's going to look moving forward. And listen, there's an old adage, you don't fix what's not broken. And that's, obviously you talk about that with the community ownership, but I think it's fair to say that something was broken here with the Elks. And, winning obviously can cure all, but there was, attendance is down, and there's just a lot of things that play into it. There are a lot of things that, go into it, need to be done. And I think Larry seems to be that guy for the job. We'll see how it works out. But all in all, I was impressed what he had to say. I don't think there were too many shocks, and I think he went about it about as well as he could.
He will join Kevin Carius tomorrow at 8:30 with Eddie Steele, talk about what got him interested, what made him want to do this and take on the challenge that will be turning the ship around for the Edmonton Elks going forward, the double E. And it's going to be a heck of a ride. I don't know what the first step is. We'll see. Kevin Carius show tomorrow morning 8:30, you can hear new Elks owner Larry Thompson on the show. Montana to Rice texting in. You can do the same. 1-833-401-1440. Just says roll tide, baby. Yes, we are talking college football on the show at about 2:40, 2:45, give or take. Lars Y. Little soft entrance music, CH. Declan Kruger selection. I just let him ride. Whatever he wants to do, he's making those picks.
I'm still playing my game from yesterday. The game rolls on. It's continued into today. So see if anyone figures it out.
What is the game?
I'm not telling anybody. It's purely for the musical selections though. You got to, see.
There's a relation, you're saying?
Yeah, every single, every song that comes concurrently or consecutively, sorry, I should say not concurrently. There is something I'm doing that, changes it up but isn't in order. So I'll say that.
I like it. Stu texting in, hey, I think we need a soccer segment on Sports 1440. Duncan, you said you're a Chelsea guy. Stu says, hey, I'm a Man U guy. Well, I'm a Liverpool guy. Funny enough, I was reaching out to some English Premier League reporters last night. I got one who says he's happy to come on. Couldn't do today. And then, now we'll wait and see what happens going forward. Getting someone from England is a bit of a challenge because it's 10 o'clock there. So I have reached out. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I want to talk little EPLs that gets going over the weekend. Always a fun thing. John of St. Albert texting in to 1-833-401-1440 as new ownership takes over the helm of the Edmonton Elks. Talk has renewed about the city of revamping or replacing Commonwealth Stadium. How should the city handle the future of Commonwealth Stadium? John in St. Albert. It's a good question. I don't know what they might want to look into. I mean, the facilities there for the players are pretty good. Good fitness center. You got the indoor facility as well on a day like today when the air quality is what it is and just not very good. I'm curious. And he Mr. Thompson did almost kind of say even possibilities of a new one. So who knows what it will be. I think we've seen it in the last couple of years here that the 60,000 seat stadium, it looks big. And when you only have whatever the numbers are, 20,000 in there, even though that's not a bad turnout, it just doesn't look very well. Closed off the upper level, trying to fill out the lower level, see what happens. But I don't know, John. What do you think? What do you think the city should do? Arlo says, I will never spend another dime on the CFL football in Edmonton until the Eskimos is the name again. Arlo, that's fair. You're more than welcome to have that opinion. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that I think felt a little bit betrayed when the name changed. It's one of those things where for me, I don't see the point in debating it with people. It seems to be a pretty right down the middle argument. Some people are all on board with the new Elks. Some people want the Eskimos name to be brought back. Not sure when it will happen. The one thing that I have been a little frustrated with personally is when I'm on social media or I'm out at an Elks watch party, which I'll be at Castlewood Pub on Saturday night if you want to come out 5 o'clock. People saying, well, the Eskimos would have won that game. No. The team name doesn't make you make a tackle. The team name doesn't make you not jump offside or not commit a hold. I will say the team name certainly has an impact on fan support. I will not disagree with that at all. It affects the walk-up, things of that nature. But changing the team name has no impact on what Trey Ford does. It doesn't really matter to what Justin Rankin does when he gets out there. Those guys are playing football. I went back and I kind of looked at some of the team names that have changed their names.
Really
gone woke, as people might say. Cleveland Guardians doing pretty good. Best winning percentage in baseball. You look at the WHL teams, the Moose Jaw Warriors and the Portland Winterhawks both changed their logos. Oh, they met in the WHL championship this season. North Dakota, formerly Fighting Sioux, doing pretty good now. Pretty good college hockey program. There's no relation to a team name on the field. It doesn't change anything. But if you want to say I'm not supporting them and it's going to impact the fan base, then I'm with you. Hey, that's a thing. That can have a correlation, and it certainly has. There's no denying it. I'm not exactly sure what the future plan is here for the team name, but we'll see. JCD says it's not the name, it's the principle. That's fair. Yeah, you didn't want them to do it. Advertisers did. Money talks. But now we're also seeing how money talks. You make that decision. Some people don't want to show up. I remember when it happened, I had said in a tweet to all the people that had been very vocal about changing the name, I sure hope you show up and support the new team because they were going to take a hit when they made that decision. And they did. They have been. There's some people that will not come back until we see this happen. So, whatever side of it you're on, whatever I say is not going to change your opinion. So you're going to be kind of locked in there no matter what. Maintenance Man says playing for the pride of being an Eskimo is definitely a motivator. I feel I played on many teams with a lot of tradition, and the logo and jersey is something that the players play for. Yeah, maybe if you grew up in the city and knew the history, these guys coming up here from Texas and Florida, I think they're just playing to win, have a contract, get paid. We're seeing a lot of the alumni that, some might not like it, but I was there at that 75th anniversary dinner. Geez, tons of greats came up. They might not love it, but they're still going to support the franchise, support the city. Personally, that's me. I don't care what the team name is. I want to go out there and watch the players. I want to support the city's team. And that's how I approach it. But if you don't, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not even going to try to, because if you don't want to go back until the name changes, that's your decision. 1-833-401-1440. Country Kurt says, I think a lot of fans feel betrayed by the name change is all the sponsors that seem to push if are no longer involved with the team or the CFL. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't feel hurt by it. I can only speak for myself. If you did, that sucks. But for me, I liked going to the games. Could have called them a whole bunch of different names. John of St. Albert. Connor, name doesn't matter. People need to move on. Costs lots of dollars to rebrand a team. John of St. Albert. And I would say that's kind of how I went with it. I moved on quick. I was still went to games with my wife. Still continue to go to games now. Sometimes now in the press box, a little bit different. Are they winning the UCLH? Okay, that's Rodrigo talking soccer with Declan. We had one coming in here, Raider Jesse. Chelsea and the Chargers. God, Connor. Gig. No, Declan is the Chelsea fan. I'm a Liverpool fan. Have been since the days of Michael Owen. On to Fernando Torres, Stevie G, Mo Salah now. That's my jersey collection when it comes to Liverpool.
Were you a big Jamie Carragher guy?
Yeah, he's a part of the team.
He was. Yeah, no one cares about the fullback.
He was pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. My buddy Steve moved from the Liverpool area when we were in grade 1, and he came over, and every once in a while he'd get like shipments of Liverpool gear. So I wanted to get in on it. So that was the team I chose. I rolled with it, and still participate. Looking forward to this weekend, Declan. We're going to try to talk some soccer at some point in the next week here with it all getting going. A lot of texts coming in here. 1-833-401 Brian. Great show as always. Brian, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate that one. Nottingham Forest, Swackhammer says. Working on his name, says agree to disagree on the name change. It's more than the name that got discarded. Loyalty, tradition. Don't kid yourself. It makes a difference. What got disregarded, though? The Edmonton franchise still has that history. It's not like it's been taboo. We say the team name all the time, but they made a decision to move on. So you can sit there and you can continually let it tick you off and never just let it go. Or you just, roll with the punches and say, hey, I still kind of like going out to Commonwealth on a Saturday night, having a drink, having some food, and watching some football. It's not for everyone. Elks name sucks. Coach Al. Yeah, I kind of liked when they were talking about maybe doing the Empire. I thought that was kind of a cool one. Just embrace the evil Empire. I know people brought up some relations to what it could mean, but I thought that would have been an interesting one as well. AZ, at the end of the day, you can always get new sponsors. I'm sure if they ask sponsors about the name change, some might have a different tune. Interesting how this plays out now. Biggest need, more wins. Second biggest, fan engagement. And AZ, yeah, I totally agree with you. Time is now. You got to start winning football games. I think that's going to get people in. Fan engagement is another one. The Edmonton Riverhawks, the Edmonton Stingers, we've talked about that ad nauseum. They've just done such a good name or a good job trying to get people in, have a good time, enjoy a nice night out, and make it affordable. That's another big one. That's what I think the Riverhawks did so well. Free parking, $5 drinks, $5 meals. That's a great thing to get people in because you're going to have to spend money to get in, especially you're a family of 4 or 5. Like that adds up quickly. To make it a little bit more affordable would be a great thing for this team. From what I've been told, the city kind of handles that because it's Commonwealth Stadium. But if we could find a way to lower prices just a little bit, that would be fantastic. Nick M says, guys, I prefer the Eskimos name, but I'm not banging the drum to bring it back. I'm just waiting for the eco-woke group to lobby the name Oilers to Solars or Soilers. Nick M, could you imagine the Oilers going to the Solars? You just drop the letters in the middle and make it a sun. There you go, Nick. I like what you're saying. Just kidding. AI or Al says, honestly, are people still crying over the name? Move on. If they just win, everyone will forget. I'm with you, man. Just win, baby. If I can steal one from the old Vegas or Las Vegas, Oakland Raiders, just win, baby. Al Davis had it right. And Raider Jesse says, okay, Liverpool is acceptable. Go Gunners, though, Raider Jesse. Raider Jesse, text me in. What are you thinking about the Raiders quarterback situation? You got Gardner Minshew, AOC. Not necessarily the best, but who's your preference? I'm curious what Raider fans might be thinking about that one. A few more texts too before we get to break. From JZ. One factor that's getting overlooked is this organization's stubbornness to fire Jones and Jones' dislikability. I think many fans will return just because of those changes. JZ, I'm going to call you. That could be it. I mean, the wheel moved slowly under Chris Jones, and I liked him. Man, like having a chat with him, he was a cool guy. There was some hesitation there, though, right? Making changes to the OC last year. Obviously getting Trey Ford out there as long as it did take. He didn't even make the decision to do so. It moved slowly. So, you know what? And from what we've seen through the text line, there was some dislike towards Chris Jones. So we'll see, as the season goes on, hopefully you start winning some games. That could help too. But yeah, I think that could have been a factor. Rod says, the thing is, Eskimos isn't racist. And in your Shoemaker, one person seemed to be against it. A 24-year-old mayor of Inuvik or wherever, more people up there supported the Eskimos. And you whiners are afraid to admit that shouldn't have been changed, but afraid of losing your jobs. I supposed and was season ticket holder. Never again been watching them since 1960. Rod. Oh, Rod, I'm not afraid of losing my job. I mean, there's other things I could do to lose my job. Touching on this topic wouldn't be one of them. There's no relation for us with the Double E football club in town. I just like football. I like going to watch it. I don't care about a team name. I like watching good football players play football. So no, not afraid to comment it. There's nothing to do with that one. The team name just isn't as important to me as it is to others, which is fine. Working on his name, winning has nothing to do with my choice to stop supporting the CFL. I don't care if they win the Grey Cup. I'm not going. That's fair. Working on his name. Justin says, hey guys, not going to lie, I was pretty disappointed when I found out Gregor was gone for a couple of weeks, but you guys have been doing a phenomenal job stepping in his place. Justin from Sherwood Park. Oh, Justin, thank you. Appreciate that. I used to always joke when I would hop on the show covering for Gregor, like, please don't change the station. We're still going to have a show. We're going to try to keep it going on here and keep up it. It's big shoes to fill. Absolutely. But, Gregor will be back in a little while here. Just recharging the batteries, taking a little bit of a break, and he'll be back in about 10 days, give or take here. A lot of texts coming in. We'll get to more of these as well. Love your opinions, even if our texters all are not on the same page. We try to get a little bit of both sides here. Not trying to mute anyone or censor anyone here. Today on the show, lots to get to, though. We're going to talk to John Hodge coming up next. He's an insider and reporter with 3 Down Nation. We're going to talk to Will Backes, CBS Sports college football writer. Let us know, who's your college football team? We'll talk about that. Wanye Gretz will be by. We're going to hear from Kevin Carius as well as Eddie Steele. Both guys were down at the press conference at Commonwealth Field earlier today. A little bit smoky, but they got through it. Colin Livingston for the Cantork Race Report. Mark Spector of Sportsnet. And we'll also do some NFL talk with Arif Hassan, covers the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be a busy show. Lots to get to still here on the program. 1-833-401-1440. That's the text line. Get those texts in. You're watching the Jason Gregor Show live here on Sports 1440 and on the Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook page.
Rule number 12, not spending the afternoon tubing on the Pembina? Next, you're going to tell us you don't wear flannel. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instance, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days, because we all know they won't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Bacon or sausage and egg McMuffin? It's a delicious dilemma. But what if you didn't have to choose? The Mighty McMuffin is back with bacon and sausage. Mighty McMuffin, mighty impressive. For a limited time at participating McDonald's in Canada.
Move Water is your one-stop shop for all things water. From freshwater to wastewater, we've got the pumps and solutions to keep your water moving where it matters most.
Move Water, your water solution experts.
Visit movewater.ca today.
You turn on the tap and water comes out. You press the handle and flush the toilet. Living in our modern world, we sometimes take for granted or don't even think about all of the services and conveniences that are around us every day. But GS Construction does. Right under your feet, there's a whole network of underground infrastructure that needs to be built and maintained in order to have these basic services. GS Construction has been laying the groundwork for your community for 50 years. Find out more by going to gsconstruction.ca.
The summer road lays ahead. Your potential destinations are endless. Volvo Cars Edmonton gives you choice to match. Right now, lease a 2024 Volvo XC90 from 0% for qualifying loyal customers. Or save $7,000 on all new 2024 XC60 recharge plug-in hybrid models. All demo vehicles come with a free 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. No matter what you decide this summer will become, your first choice is Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Midnight tomorrow is the VIP prize deadline in the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation Mighty Millions Lottery. Take charge of the open road with the Porsche Cayman VIP prize or choose $100,000 cash. Plus, be in to win the $2.5 million grand prize, Oilers season seats bonus prize, and so much more. Hurry, VIP deadline is midnight tomorrow. Be mighty and support Stollery Kids. Buy now at MightyMillionsLottery.com.
Diablo Boots has been open for business for 60 years, selling Canadian-made quality boots. Diablo has Canada West work, biker, and cowboy boots with fixable soles and heels. So why buy boots like Area, Justin, or Red Wing that are made in China? Get your money's worth with Diablo's Canada West tough, comfortable work boots. So save on boots by Save on Foods, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save on Foods. And does Diablo sell the best boots in town? You betcha.
Elevate your home's curb appeal effortlessly with House Numbers Canada, locally owned and operated right here in Edmonton. Their state-of-the-art modern house numbers and address signs are the perfect solution for a quick and stylish upgrade. Multiple size and color options, stock items, custom designs, and the always popular LED illuminated numbers. Quality guaranteed or your money back. So what are you waiting for? Give your home the modern upgrade it deserves. Explore House Numbers Canada's exclusive collection at housenumberscanada.ca.
With you here, we got Declan Kruger keeping us on track, Donovan Paulson keeping things going on the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X stream. Oh, hello, YouTube. Daryl, Joel, Broly, Lars. Good to hear from you guys. I guess you couldn't hear us off the start of the show, but we figured that one out quickly. So glad to have you on board. Make sure you hit that like button. Looks like we got at least 8 likes already. So that's a good start. Maybe we get up to 72 today. That's how long Larry Thompson, the new Elks owner, has been watching the team. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, as well as Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Our text line, the EWEL inbox, 1-833-401-1440. Text on in and score with your power play partners at EWEL. Get all your electrical needs at ewel.ca with 24/7 ordering and shipping in Edmonton and across Alberta. Right now, we are going to get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the JPHL, an academy-style approach for U14, U15, and U18 players with a focus on skill development and education. You can learn more at juniorprospectshockeyleague.com. And we now bring in John Hodge. He is a CFL insider and reporter with 3 Down Nation. You can give him a follow on Twitter and or X at John D. Hodge. John, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we really appreciate you doing this today. And of course, big news here in Edmonton as Larry Thompson officially announced as the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. He's been a fan since 1972, formerly of Thompson Brothers Construction. I'm sure you saw the press conference today with everyone speaking. You had the commissioner there as well. Maybe what were some of your takeaways from what you heard from the new owner of the Edmonton Elks?
Well, I mean, obviously the sale was necessary. This is a team that has lost $16 million, I believe it is, since 2020 in the canceled COVID season in the CFL. From what I'm hearing, Larry Thompson has very deep pockets. That's obviously essential. I also admire his passion for the team, right? Hearing somebody talk about when they were a little kid and they're watching this team and, we still sat in the front row, with his wife, Debbie, which is fantastic. I mean, we know that there have not been enough fans the last few years at Commonwealth Stadium, so it seems only appropriate that somebody who has stuck with the club this long is now the owner. I thought it was interesting that we talked about, the future of Commonwealth Stadium. That's obviously a longer-term issue. I was also interested in the fact that he's non-committal about the Edmonton Elks moniker. He really seemed to drive home that they plan to focus more on the double E logo, kind of the logo associated with the club's former moniker. But it would have been very easy for him in his press conference to say, no, we're not changing the name. That was, false speculation that came out in some of the reporting leading up to the press conference. But he certainly did not do that, did not rule out a possible name change or logo change or both.
John Hodge joining us here from 3 Down Nation on the Jason Gregor Show, talking about the announcement today that Larry Thompson will take over as the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. So, John, if you were, maybe in the inner circle and you had some influence on what could be doing to improve this team, what would the advice be to Larry Thompson? How do they turn this thing around, not only on the field, but off the field as well?
Well, it starts with hiring good people. Right. And at the end of the day, Chris Jones is a disastrous hire for this organization as the head coach and GM. And ironically, I'll point this out. I've seen a lot of feedback from fans on social media, some of whom are advocating for a return to the former name that this team once had. And I just want to remind everybody that in 2022, the team handed over the reins to Chris Jones, largely because their goal was to return to the good old days, right? Well, 2015, Mike O'Reilly, Chris Jones, we won this Grey Cup. We were so sensational. We were at the top of the league. Obviously, Chris Jones left following the 2015 season for an even larger role with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But at the end of the day, going back to the quote-unquote good old days was a disaster, right? This team won 4 games in 2022, 4 games in 2023, and then Chris Jones got fired following an 0-5 start this year. And I know that the club's long home losing streak obviously stemmed before the Chris Jones era, but Chris Jones was unable to end that streak until the second year of his tenure in Edmonton. So I think the number one most important thing you have to do is hire the best possible president. Rick Lawlisher has, an excellent reputation, but he's been very open about the fact, somebody who's actually retired once before, that he does not want to be the long-term president of this team. They need to find somebody great to steady the ship and who can hire the best possible general manager. Now, this team is obviously 2-0 in their last 2 games. I think G. Roy Simon, the interim GM, has made some good moves. Jarius Jackson's offense, he's the head coach and offensive coordinator right now, has done some good things. But at the end of the day, what will keep fans coming back to Commonwealth Stadium and bring people in is success on the field. The last time that the head coach and GM jobs were open, they made the wrong hire. This team has to get a president in place, and that president has to make 2 excellent hires, either the GM and then be involved in that head coaching decision, or somebody who can do both jobs at an exceptionally high level.
Now, John, when you look at this team on the field, obviously 0-7, not an ideal start. They changed their coach, now on a 2-game winning streak. A few bad losses, but a lot of games where they lost just last possession on a field goal. When you look at the on-field version of the Edmonton Elks, what do you see from this team? And do you think, Trey Ford injury maybe playing a major impact in that? Can they go on a bit of a run and make this a competitive season?
I do. I mean, I'm optimistic about what we'll see from Trey Ford. I don't think it's impossible that he plays against the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Saturday. But when you look at this team's schedule, I mean, a lot of their toughest matchups are done. They've already played in Vancouver. They've already played Ottawa twice. Ottawa, has a very strong record so far this season. This team's already gone into Saskatchewan. They've already played BC 2 times. Like, the back half of the schedule, they've got Hamilton. They've got Calgary 3 times. Calgary has been, pretty mediocre to start the year. They're 4-5 right now. They do have a home in Winnipeg. I do think Winnipeg's better than their record indicates, but the team's only 3-6. So from that perspective, I think there are reasons for optimism. And then I think Trey Ford is sensational. Like, Trey Ford might be the best athlete in the CFL. I'm not saying the best quarterback, but what he is able to do breaks defenses. Like, the way that he is able to use his speed to outrun angles. We've seen, especially the Saskatchewan Roughriders 2 weeks ago, a very good defense, absolutely struggle throughout that game to corral Trey Ford. The Edmonton put up 42 points in that game. And when you're putting up 42 points against a good defense, you're going to win a lot of games. I don't think Edmonton's defense is incredible. They rank bottom 3rd in the league in a lot of categories, but they're good enough to get the job done when Trey Ford is out there protecting the football and making sensational plays with his legs and hitting deep shots, which is something that he's been able to do with a solid receiving core. So I think that if you're an Elks fan, you wish they made this switch sooner, right? If Trey Ford had started all 9 games to this point, I think the team's record is better than 2-7. But I do think there are reasons for optimism. I think you have to win this one, right? Hamilton is, at least in my view, the worst team in the league. They're certainly number 9 in our depth or our power rankings at 3 Down Nation. But if you can get to 3-7, I mean, the first place team in the West only has 5 wins right now. You're not that far out of it.
Well, let's go out to BC. And a big news this week outside of Edmonton is Nathan Rourke signing with the BC Lions. Last time he played in the CFL in just 10 games, 25 touchdowns. He was a force. He played outstanding, went down to the NFL, bounced around for a little while. And I've heard some reports that the NFL dream might not totally be over, but he's back in BC with the injured Vernon Adams. How much of an impact do you think he can have? I mean, are we going to just expect him to come back and be that guy we saw during the 2022 season?
Well, I mean, we've seen guys come back from the NFL and struggle to make that adjustment at least a little bit. They are different games, right? The field mapping is different. A 10-yard out to the boundary or the field feels different up north than it does down south. That is for sure. And Nathan talked a little bit about that after practice yesterday in Vancouver. With that being said, I mean, Nathan Rourke's performance in that first half of the 2022 season prior to his Lisfranc injury, he was, I would have to say, probably the most electrifying player we've seen in the CFL since Doug Flutie, which I appreciate might sound hyperbolic, but I don't think it's inaccurate. What he was able to do with his legs, with his arm, the arm talent is unbelievable. And he plays in a system designed by Jordan Maximek, who's actually from just outside of Edmonton, that prioritizes throwing the football. And, BC's offensive line, I don't think is much to write home about. But when you're somebody with the mobility of Nathan Rourke, the athleticism of Nathan Rourke, you can take some of that pressure off of that offensive line. It opens up the run game. And their receiving core is very, very good. I mean, Keon Hatcher is still starting to, get his adjustment back to full speed. He just recently returned following a torn Achilles he suffered during the West Final last year. But, I mean, Alexander Hollins is sensational. Justin McInnes has been sensational. So I fully believe that Nathan Rourke has made the Lions the team to beat. In the West Division, it certainly has reshaped the landscape of the CFL. Is he going to be at an MLP level right away? Tough to say. And you also wonder if Vernon Adams Jr. was healthy, would he be starting game 1? I think he would be starting this year at some point, but I'm not sure they would be throwing him in the fire this quickly, especially against a Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense that ranks top 3 in a lot of statistical categories. But you can't understate, I don't think, the level of success he's had, and I'm sure the game is going to draw a tremendous rating because I think fans across the country are excited to see what he can do.
Yeah. Sorry there. You're totally right, though. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the BC Lions from here on out for sure. John Hodge of 3 Down Nation joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley sitting in for the next couple of weeks here. John, just a couple more before we let you go here, but you mentioned Vernon Adams Jr. With Rourke being signed this year and then 2 more after. What is the future for VA?
Well, I don't think it's going to be in Vancouver beyond this year, right? I mean, Nathan Rourke is, according to my colleague Justin Dunk with 3 Down Nation, is set to earn $750,000 in 2025 and $800,000 in 2026. Now, some of that money is off the cap and marketing, but regardless, it's a pretty penny, right? And Nathan Rourke reportedly bought a house near Vancouver this past offseason with some of the money he made in the NFL. His whole family lives in the Lower Mainland. He was actually raised primarily in Ontario, but he was born in Victoria, and his family is now there. So I think that BC was always the place he was going to be when and if he came back to the CFL. He made that quite clear in an interview last month. As for VA, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think Calgary is a possibility. Jake Mayer's in a contract year. He has not exactly lit it up. Hamilton, we'll see what happens. They've moved off Bo Levi Mitchell. They've got Taylor Powell under contract, but Vernon Adams Jr. you'd think is an upgrade over that. We'll see what happens in Montreal. Cody Fajardo is dressing for tomorrow's game in Saskatchewan, but he's not starting. Davis Alexander is starting. You look around the CFL and there's different places. Trevor Harris, I would point to Saskatchewan as a possibility. Trevor Harris is not under contract for next season. He's in his late 30s. A guy like VA helps you get more mobile at that position. He helps you get younger at that position. And possibly you'd argue even a little bit less maybe injury prone. Like Trevor Harris was very healthy through his career up until last season, only played 4 games. This year he's had another rash of injury issues. So, I would highlight those as maybe some options for Vernon Adams Jr., but I don't think with the cap constraints that the 2 quarterbacks would have together that it's realistic he'll be in BC next year.
Mid-August, and we're already looking to an interesting offseason in the CFL. John, thanks so much for doing this today. Really appreciate it. It's the Stamps and Red Blacks kicking off Week 11. Enjoy it all.
Appreciate it. You too.
There you go. That is John Hodge, covers the CFL for 3 Down Nation. Give him a follow on X at John D. Hodge. That is our big guest of the day, brought to you by the JPL. You can learn more at juniorprospectshockeyleague.com. Some news coming down from the NFL for you Falcons fans out there. A very good couple of days. Yesterday, it's Matthew Judon coming in from the New England Patriots for a 3rd-round pick. Today, Pro Bowl safety Justin Simmons, the former Denver Broncos, signing a 1-year deal worth $8 million with the with the Atlanta Falcons, formerly of the Broncos. And that's a big one because the New Orleans Saints were also trying to bring him in for this season. So Atlanta adding 2 former Pro Bowl players to the squad on that defense. The offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's looking like the defense is shaping up quite nicely as well. So we'll have to see what happens now for the Atlanta Falcons. But let's hope for good things. It's been a while, I always feel bad for Falcons fans going back to that Super Bowl loss. I hope for good things for you all. The text line is 1-833-401-1440. Lots to get to on the show today. We're going to be really breaking down the Edmonton Elks' new ownership. Eddie Steele will be by, Kevin Carius, Speck, and more. We'll take your text to 1-833-401-1440. Coming up next, we're talking some college football. Maybe you're a big NFL fan. You're like, who do I need to watch this year with a draft coming up? Maybe you're just a college football fan. We got the expanded playoffs, some Heisman talk, a whole lot more. We're going to get Declan Kruger involved in this conversation as well because he is our resident NCAA football fan and genius as well. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440 and the Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook pages, brought to you by playalberta.ca.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
Modern Air and Water is your source for AC, furnace, duct cleaning, and water purification systems. Get a 12-year parts and labor warranty and save up to $2,500 on a complete new system. Contact your Lennox Premier dealer at modernairwater.com.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical Project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Get a great night's sleep during the final weekend of the Brick Summer Sleep Event. Take up to 50% off mattresses, up to $1,200 off sleeper sectionals, and buy more, save more, up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, shop amazing deals in other departments, like up to 20% off outdoor furniture and up to 25% off home entertainment furniture and fireplaces. You won't want to sleep through these fantastic prices. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Employee pricing is on now at Chevrolet. Right now, get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 High Country Crew Cab models. With an available 6.2-liter V8 engine and standard Chevrolet safety assist, including forward collision alert, getting out of the city and having a nice, quiet day on the beach is easier than ever this season. So relaxing. Ask your Chevrolet advisor for details.
The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries.
Every generation before you has also been the most progressive generation.
And Jimmy Carr.
I don't know how to explain this to you. I'm not that small, I'm just far away.
One night, two comedy icons. September 8th, Rogers Place. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.ca. The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries and Jimmy Carr. Produced by Outback Presents.
Midnight tomorrow is the VIP prize deadline in the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation Mighty Millions Lottery. Take charge of the open road with the Porsche Cayman VIP prize or choose $100,000 cash. Plus, be in to win the $2.5 million grand prize, Oilers season seats bonus prize, and so much more. Hurry, VIP deadline is midnight tomorrow. Be mighty and support Stollery Kids. Buy now at MightyMillionsLottery.com.
Does your bank do local? We do. When you bank with Vision Credit Union, you're banking with a rural Albertan cooperative that cares about the community where you live. There's no question. We actively support our rural communities at the local level through charitable donations, volunteerism, local team and event sponsorships, and by returning millions in profit shares to our members every year. Does your bank do that? We do local. Bank with Vision Credit Union. VisionCU.ca.
Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440. Brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Connor Halley, Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson with you here. We got Wanye Gretz waiting in the wings. Terry Ryan going to join us. Currently shooting season 4 of Shoresy and generous enough to give us some of his time. So we'll talk to TR in a couple of minutes here. But right now we are going to get to the college football report. Brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, where their rates never change. Need service late at night or on the weekends? You don't need overtime charges. That's how you build a legacy at legacyheating.ca. We bring in Will Backus, covers college football for CBS Sports. Will, good afternoon. How are things going?
I'm doing great. Only 9 days until the college football season starts, so I'm really excited to talk some ball.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to have you on here because, like you said, it's going to be here in absolutely no time. Before we even know it, the rankings come out. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon getting a lot of love here. I want to ask you, when you look at the, coaches or AP, your preference, anyone a little bit too low for your likings?
Yeah, I actually think that the AP poll, and that's the one I use because that's the one that shows up on TV broadcasts and everybody looks at until the college football playoff comes on. I think it actually stacks up pretty well. I think I look at it and see, okay, well, what teams can rise? What teams do I think are going to be ranked a lot higher later in the season than they are now? And a couple that spring to mind to me are, I think Tennessee has a chance to go a lot higher. I think that's a team that's kind of flying under a lot of people's radar. They've got a pretty favorable schedule this year. A lot of their hardest games come at home. Really, really veteran squad, so I think that they could rise. And I'm high on Kansas. I think, historically people might think, well, that's kind of weird, but the Jayhawks are legit this year. They've got a great quarterback, great coach, super experienced team, all kinds of talent across the board. So I think that they're a team that you could be looking at season's end and they're right there in the top 15. I think that those are two teams that are probably appropriately ranked right now, but I think they've got a chance to be a good bit higher, by season's end.
This year, I think one of the things that a lot of people are excited about is the 12-team playoff and just the expansion of that, because every single year there's always that team kind of right on the cusp, but people would love to see get an opportunity, but maybe the committee doesn't think they quite earned it or are quite ready for it. What do you think about the new format when we get to the playoffs down the road here?
I personally love the new format. I know there's a lot of, hand-wringing about, well, it devalues the regular season. I don't think that's the case, though. Sure, there's maybe a little more lenience for top teams. I'm sure there are going to be a couple 2-loss teams that sneak in at the end of the year there, get one of those 7 at-large bids. But I think the regular season is just as important as it always has been. And I think it adds a ton of value to conference championships, too. Because when you win those conference championships, you secure an automatic bid, right? So, there's a ton more on the line besides just winning your conference and playing for pride with that. So I love the format. Plus, it's extra football. We get home playoff games. I think those are going to be super fun to watch. I would love to make my way to one this year because that's just going to be such a unique environment that college football has never really had before. So I think, playoff games on campus are wonderful. I think the format overall is a big positive, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
Will Backus of CBS Sports joining us here to talk some college football. Will, the news coming out of Ohio State, Will Howard is going to be the starter. Don't think anyone was too surprised. Obviously, Kyle McCord goes to Syracuse, I should say. You look at some of the other quarterbacks in the Big Ten, Dylan at Oregon and Drew at Penn State. Where does Will stack up in comparison to those guys? And is the Big Ten's truly Ohio State's to lose this year?
Yeah, I think Will Howard stacks up, pretty well in the Big Ten, and I say that because it's not a huge quarterback conference this year. I don't think that there's a ton of guys that are really going to blow anybody away. Not to be too down on the Big Ten. There's definitely some solid passers there, but I think Will Howard definitely in kind of that upper echelon. I'd probably say Dylan Gabriel's up at the top, and then there's a little crowd behind him. That Will Howard's probably in. And I think, it's going to be interesting to see how they run the offense through him this year, because he's not, he's kind of an inconsistent passer. Maybe doesn't have the arm talent that you'd be used to from an Ohio State quarterback, but he is a really hard-nosed, tough running kind of guy that I think fits Chip Kelly's system really well. So I think he'll have a good year. And as for, is Ohio State, or is the Big Ten Ohio State's to lose? You'd like to think so. Ryan Day really went all out this offseason, pouring a lot into the transfer portal, going out and hiring Chip Kelly from UCLA, making all kinds of adjustments to try to get this team in a competitive spot. The biggest thorn in their side in recent years has been Michigan, and Michigan has to replace, I think, 18 players that started, at least half of their games last year. Jim Harbaugh's off to the NFL. Their defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter's off to the NFL. So they've got a lot, Michigan's got a lot to replace. So Ohio State's in good position to fill that power vacuum, but they've got to watch out for Oregon, because Oregon's going to be really good, and I think that they're going to translate to the Big Ten very well.
Will, taking a trip down south to the SEC, Ole Miss comes in the AP preseason rankings number 6. I really like Jackson Dart. I really like Jordan Watkins, I really like Trey Harris. I think like Lane Kiffin has kind of always been a guy who, since he's gone back to Ole Miss, has been the bridesmaid, not the bride. Do you see, I know the conference is deeper this year, more teams, etc. Texas comes in ranked number 4 in the preseason. Do you think there is a real possibility, and if you had to put a percentage on it, what would you say the shot is that Ole Miss makes the SEC championship game?
I think SEC championship game is definitely within the realm of possibility for them. I would probably I'd say there's probably a 30% chance. I would give them the third best odds behind Georgia and Texas. As we sit here right now, I think the SEC championship game is going to be Georgia and Texas, but I would put Ole Miss probably right behind them. And a big reason why is, Jackson Dart, super experienced quarterback. And I love, more than Jackson Dart, I love Ole Miss's wide receivers. You mentioned Trey Harris. I think he's probably the most underrated wide receiver in college football. We recently did our All-American balloting, and I put him up there, as a second team All-American type guy. And I think that there's way more room for that. And, outside of him, they've got Juice Wells. You mentioned Jordan Watkins. I mean, that receiver room is just crazy deep. And so I love that for them. And then their schedule lines up super favorably. They don't have to play Alabama. I mentioned Michigan as a thorn in Ohio State's side. Well, Alabama has been the thorn in Ole Miss's side recently, and they don't have to play them this year because divisions aren't a thing anymore. Still have to play Georgia. That's going to be a hard game. But otherwise, I see that I think they're going to be favored most every other game on their schedule. And so you could be looking at, an 11-win Ole Miss at the end of the year. Maybe they didn't do quite enough to get into the SEC championship game, but they're going to be really hard to leave out of the college football playoff. And I'm sure if you told Ole Miss fans that, they'd be pretty happy with that outcome.
Will, speaking of the college football playoff, do you think we could see a team with 3 losses make the playoff this year? Because I look at it like Michigan, for example, they have to play Texas, Oregon, and obviously Ohio State. Texas ranked 4th in the preseason poll, Oregon ranked 3rd, Ohio State ranked 2nd. The only other ranked team on their schedule right now, USC. Like if they play, Ohio State tough, and I know Oregon and Texas are at home, but if they play those 3 tough, lose close ones, finishes a 9-3 team, do you think they could be considered for the college football playoffs as that 3-loss team, or anyone really? I'm just using Michigan as an example.
Yeah, and I mean Michigan is probably the best example of that, right? Because they've got 3 preseason top 10 teams on their schedule, as you mentioned, and so those are 3 hard games. And you can't fault them if they go 9-3, and those are their 3 losses. Like that's about as tough as it gets for a preseason schedule. I think it might be pretty hard for a 3-loss team to get into the college football playoff, even if their 3 losses are against top 10 teams. Just because it depends on the quality around the rest of the nation, right? Because you'd imagine that you'd have a choice between here's 9-3 Michigan that plays in the Big Ten, or, a 10-2 Clemson, or a 10-2 Florida State, or a 10-2 Oklahoma State. That would kind of be like the log jam, just theoretically spouting off. That would kind of be the log jam that the committee has to decide in. And sure, those 3 losses for Michigan are valuable losses against top 10 teams, especially if they're close losses. But I think it would be hard to justify putting a 3-loss team in ahead of a 2-loss, also power conference team. So I wouldn't say it's impossible. A lot of it depends on just what happens around the nation. And again, you said, Michigan, this is for any 3-loss team that's on the cusp of the playoff. A lot of it really depends on what other teams look like. But I think it would be hard for a 3-loss team to get in.
Well, one more question before we let you go here. I got to ask you about the Colorado Buffaloes. Last year they came on. Everybody was hopping on the bandwagon. They take down TCU in Nebraska, then Colorado State in a thriller. Not so great after that. 1-8 in their final 9 games. Another great game against Stanford, but they come out on the losing end. What is the hype around Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes looking like this season?
I mean, I think there's a lot of natural hype around Colorado just because of the kind of bigger than life personality that Deion Sanders is, and they also have a couple of legitimate NFL talents at quarterback and Shedeur Sanders, and then they're all around All-American type player Travis Hunter. So there's a lot of media attention around them, and a lot of it is deserving. But I think a lot of the hype is a little manufactured. I think when you actually look at the entire roster construction, there's still some really severe questions about depth at offensive line, depth at running back. They've got a lot of transfer pieces on defensive line, but it's kind of how are those pieces going to mesh? I don't see them being a bowl team this year. I think I would probably call it an uphill climb to a bowl. The non-conference is difficult. North Dakota State, they opened the year against North Dakota State. You might look at that and be like, well, North Dakota State is FCS. North Dakota State is a multi-time national championship winning FCS team. Like that's not a layup game. Then they have to go to Nebraska the week after that. I think Nebraska is going to be a lot better. Then they got to play Colorado State the week after that. Colorado State gave them a heck of a game last year, and Colorado State also got its best players back this year. And then the conference, I think the Big 12 is going to be a madhouse this year. There's a ton of really good teams in the Big 12, super top heavy, probably 5 or 6 teams that could win the conference, and Colorado has to play 4 of them. So it's a tough schedule, and I don't want to say they're going to be bad. I don't think they're going to be bad. I just think it's going to be an uphill climb for them to get to a bowl game.
Great stuff, Will. Thanks so much for hopping on the show today. Last question, just very quickly. When you look at that Colorado team, Travis Hunter, at the pro level, cornerback or receiver?
Most of what I heard and most of what I see suggests cornerback. And I think that's just because his length for the cornerback position is ideal. His speed is ideal. His athleticism is ideal. And obviously he has the wide receiver background, so he's got the ball skills that you want a lot of modern NFL cornerbacks to have. So I think he's gonna find the field early as a cornerback, and I think he's gonna stick there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for doing this today. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate y'all.
There you go. That is Will Backus, covers college football with CBS Sports. You can give him a follow on X at Will_Backus1. That's our college football report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Check them out online at legacyheating.ca. Coming up on the show today, lots to get to here. Of course, we are going to head down to Commonwealth, talk a little bit more about the green and gold. The ownership change today officially announced. Larry Thompson taking over as owner. We'll speed things up in the Cantor Racing Report with Colin Livingston, Eddie Steele, Mark Spector. We're going to talk to Arif Hassan about the Minnesota Vikings and all their injury woes that just seem to happen every single season. But coming up next, we welcome in Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation, as well as Terry Ryan, live from set, out filming Shoresy. He's going to join us for a couple of segments as well. But first, we'll get to a Sports 1440 update with Declan Kruger, brought to you by UL, supplying the City of Champions and all of Alberta with great electrical gear since 1976. You can order now at ewel.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, CFL news involving the Edmonton Elks, as Larry Thompson has officially been unveiled as the Elks owner. Thompson is a lifelong fan of the EE, and he becomes the first private owner in the club's history. The Green and Gold had been community-owned since the club's founding in 1949, and with the purchase of the Elks, there are now only 2 community-owned teams left in the CFL. News out of the CFL is suspended Toronto Argonauts quarterback Chad Kelly will meet with CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie on Friday. Following the meeting, an update should be announced on his eligibility for a return. News in the NHL is Jekhav Rana has returned to the Capitals on a PTO, and in the MLB, 3 finals from earlier today was the Brewers over the Dodgers 6-4, Tigers over the Mariners 2-1, and Athletics over the Mets 7-6. One game in action right now. It's the Giants up on the Braves 2-0 in the top of the 5th. But later today, we'll see the Red Sox and Orioles, Nationals and Phillies, and the Twins and the Rangers. The New York Knicks and Boston Celtics will kick off the NBA season. That gets going on October 22nd, as announced today. And in the NFL, the Falcons have made another splash, inking Justin Simmons on a one-year deal. Justin Simmons, a two-time Pro Bowler, signed the $8 million one-year contract earlier today and will join fellow Pro Bowl selection Jesse Bates in the safety group. CFL Week 11 action gets going tonight with the Red Blacks and Stampeders. Kickoff for that one, 7 p.m. Mountain, out in Calgary. In hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation. We will be joined by Terry Ryan of Shoresy. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries.
Every generation before you has also been the most progressive generation.
And Jimmy Carr.
I don't know how to explain this to you. I'm not that small, I'm just far away.
One night, two comedy icons. September 8th, Rogers Place. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.ca. The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries and Jimmy Carr. Produced by Outback Presents.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Rule number 116. In Waterton, walk with a lean. The wind will always prop you up. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instants, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
So you've decided you want to start hiking. Nobody would say, I'll just wear my kids' flip-flops until I have more experience. The first thing you do is buy the right shoe size and style to fit you. Same with golf. You can't just buy clubs off the rack. They won't be the right size or style for you. Only Fitted Golf works with you to identify your swing style and then matches your clubs exactly to that swing. Check out our Instagram and YouTube channel to see the success others have with clubs fit to their swing. Fitted Golf, where we continue to prove it's your clubs.
Bacon or sausage and egg McMuffin? It's a delicious dilemma. But what if you didn't have to choose? The Mighty McMuffin is back with bacon and sausage. Mighty McMuffin, mighty impressive. For a limited time at participating McDonald's in Canada.
For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And nothing moves Albertans better than Canada's best-selling truck, the Ford F-150. Here now with rates as low as 0% or savings up to $17,000. That's the value you've come to expect from where cars always cost less. 0% or $17,000 off F-150s. Only at Denham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
Just a small town girl, living in a lonely world. He took the midnight train.
From puck drop to kickoff.
Jason Gregor. I got Declan Kruger along with me and Donovan Paulson keeping us on track on the digital side of things. And we bring in Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation, co-host extraordinaire for the week.
What an honor it's been.
This must be what being the Olympics is like for all those athletes.
It's already Thursday. The week's flying by. Just changes in ownership, some offer sheets in the NHL. Really makes things go quick.
When Gregor planned to do a trip in the dog days of summer, I don't think he envisioned this amount of news.
No. End of August. That should be a good time to go. Here we are. You can't predict it in the sporting world. You never can. We're also going to bring in our usual Thursday co-host here on the Jason Gregor Show. We'll do this for Action Electrical. They're the most diversified electrical contractor in Alberta with 4 divisions in project, service, take, and solar for commercial or residential. Contact them today at actionelectrical.net. Former NHLer, a Hall of Famer, an actor, guy who does it all. Terry Ryan joins us as well. TR, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm stick handling around a lot of different responsibilities. I'm on set here in Sudbury, but I like to stay connected. I can come on with you guys for a little bit, but I got to be honest, in the last few days, I haven't seen much that happened in the hockey world. I've been trying to keep my eye on the prize, but, we've been shooting Shoresy, which requires a lot of attention, memory, and definitely focus. So we're here going pretty hard in August, and I'm still interested, but just haven't really had my finger on the pulse for about a week.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, not too much has happened. The offer sheets were one thing. Austin Matthews obviously gets the C. Vrana returns to the Caps on a PTO. Logan Brown to the Lightning. But, I mean, it's not really massive news. And we'll touch on that in a minute here. But I just want to say, not to suck up too much, finished the 3rd season of Shoresy last week. Thought it was fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to season 4. If you could you give us a little rundown? What's a basic day on set look like for you right now?
Yeah, so this is a good question because a lot of people have been asking me that lately. So if you go over to my Instagram, I'm going to really document a little bit more what goes on set. I take a lot of it for granted. But a typical day, generally we get started early. So let's just say this week, for the most part this week, we've been going in at 5:30 to 7:30, no earlier, no later in the morning, right? And then let's just say myself, Dolo, Goody, Andrew Ansonen, we're in most scenes together. So usually it's at the very least we're the common denominator. Sometimes other guys, sometimes other girls, whatever. But for the most part, so usually I'll meet them early and we get a breakfast of some sort in the hotel. Maybe it's just coffee, maybe it's an egg or whatever. Head down just to get together in the morning and talk and rehearse before we actually get into the transport. Our transport will pull up, very specific to it, might say 5:34, right? So we get in and we get taken to base camp. Now, base camp is where you'll have some craft there, which is the food, a little bit just for the people at base. You'll have your costume fitting. You'll have your trailers. So when I get there, I usually grab a coffee, a craft. I go to my trailer. We all have separate, we share them, but it's our own space. We don't all have a huge Winnebago, but we have that like split in two. So we'll go in and I'll go over my lines, and the wardrobe will always have our stuff there ready for us to go. So whatever we wear, we just put our personal stuff aside and then put on my wardrobe. Right around the same time, hair and makeup has a trailer close to us, and they'll just knock on our door. One of the ADs, which is technically assistant director, they'll come knock on the door, and when it's your time. So I'll just go out. Usually at this point, the very first day, this takes place not long after the season. So I don't want to give anything away, but anybody who's seen the last of it, there's a certain hairstyle I have to have. So off the beginning, I got to go in and get all that done, make sure it's cool, get my facial hair down to where we think it's going to be for the season, and we got to establish that character. So here's your wardrobe, here's your look. Now this is Hitch. Right? So then each day I go in, I just basically now get reset to the default setting. And I always go in and get, I got to get some of my tattoos covered up. My Beatles tattoo, my Rolling Stones, for example. So, and it depends. If I got my shirt off, then I might be in hair and makeup for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? And that's before the day starts. So then we're plenty of time. Usually we're in at 5:30. We might have the first scene at around 8, 9, even 10. We get there plenty of time. So we all come out. We go back to our trailer. I might turn on the Jason Gregor Show from the night before. If I got lines left to rehearse, I'll do that. Maybe I got a guest coming up on my podcast, but I'll use my trailer as a bit of a working space. Go there, And from there, you just wait for the knock. So usually we've got something to remember for the scene. And if it's not a lot of lines, it's context. It's how we're going to set this up. So we'll get ready for what they call the blocking. So when we get called into set, they're usually at the blocking part. And that, you stand up, usually you can read. You don't have to act it all through. You can if you want. But all the actors get there. It's for the lighting and the camera generally, and for the directors to figure out, the producers to figure out exactly how we're going to go about the scene. We might go to blocking and realize we're in the back of the house, guys. We're not getting the best lighting from the sun here. Maybe we should either do it on the side or bring the lighting team in. But this is all before you even do one shot, right? We're 5-6 hours in before anything even happens. So then when we've figured all that out, then we'll go, okay, break. And they'll say second team coming in. So after first team, which is all of us main actors or whatever actors in the scene, after we're done blocking, right? Like I said, it's for camera, it's for lighting. We'll leave, and they'll say second team. So then, if you've ever heard the term stand-in, that's what a stand-in is. So I have somebody that's generally my height and weight. I leave. I go down to get my final touch-ups. Maybe we rehearse the lines. But now we go, but the actors go and we rehearse exactly how we're going to do it. And Jared is usually in the scenes with us. Jared Kiso, those who watch, he writes most of it, if not all of it. And Jared will say, okay, right here, Hitch, maybe you tone this part down. This part you're saying to yourself, not the group. Tassia, you're going to look at me when you say this because it's a very clear, we'll go over all the context of it. While the stand-ins are staying there for the lighting and the camera and for the angles. And then they'll say, okay, we're ready to go to camera. Boom, call us in. Action. There's shot one of the day. And we go through it. After the first scene, we'll realize, okay, what did we do there? What happened? Hitch, tone it down at the end a little bit. We don't need you to raise your beer. We're not celebrating any championship here. We're celebrating the night out. Little different. Jared, maybe do this, and we'll just do it. Usually it takes a few at the very least, takes us something, but we just did one today earlier, one take. We'll often get that in Shoresy. It's not often about the actors in the scene. We're not, it's not Robert De Niro here in Taxi Driver or anything, but you still got to act according. So as we do it more and more, it becomes a better oiled machine, and we kind of read around each other. And the more you do the things I just told you, the easier it is. Or I guess the more fluent it is. It's never easy, but that's it. That's one shot, and then we'll go there for, I think crew call has got to come in, union rules, by like 5.5 hours in, and you'll have a lunch. And then at lunch, you'll basically, the actors will go over what we're going to do in the second part of the day. And then a general day is generally 12 or 13 hours, man. It's 8 hours, but you usually end up going 12. And the reasons for that are vary. But anyway, that's it. And while we're doing something, we might, if we got some downtime like we did today earlier, but we're all together because we got to get ready for a scene, then we'll just start rehearsing other stuff. Or this year there's some dancing, so we'll go over the choreographing. But it's long days, and normally we can't even have our phone on us. Like it's technically against the rules to even have it. So when I say like I get tuned out, I have no idea. Like I did know about the Holloway Broberg. That was news on set. And I did know about the Matthews. I mean, news gets out at lunch and stuff. But, when we're into it, we're into it. And there's lots of things that happen in the outside world that we're not connected to. It's like, once we're on set, yeah. And there's no like, oh, maybe I'll leave work early. It's just, you're there. You're in, for lack of a better way to put it, you're in a prison. It doesn't feel like negative like prison, but, you can't just come and go as you please. You're locked in.
Amongst the cast, I mean, Jared Kiso, obviously a history of dealing with sports, playing Don Cherry in a couple movies. The other cast members, athletic backgrounds. Do you guys talk sports? I mean, is that something that goes on when you guys aren't rehearsing and worrying about the show?
That's a great question. Yeah, we talk about everything. It's very similar. I mean, this year's a little bit different. Again, when it's taking place, the context, what's happening. I don't want to give anything away, but as a rule so far, a lot of scenes we're putting on our hockey gear, we're in the room. And that's exactly like I think Jarrett wants it that way. I don't really know, but we're playing hockey players. I'm not going to say, again, we're like method acting like Kristen Bale or something, but we often go in early and put those scenes were in the room. Like a lot of it just plays itself out. I'm not going to say it's organic because it's scripted, but we're getting a feel for it. We're telling some stories. Maybe they'll come in down the road. Maybe we'll get some ideas. Nasty Marasty. We're all characters too, right? I mean, we all have a lot of stories from wherever we played. So usually it's that. It morphs into something like that. Like I can bring up anything. I can bring up arts. I can bring up history, anything. But usually if we're in there for a few hours, you know, I'll want to hear something that Jordan Nolan has to say. 3 Stanley Cups. He's got a lot to say about hockey. And it'll come back to hockey. Whether we say, how do you like those skates, Nasty? They're not bad. My last year in Russia, I used it, you know, and then boom, then we're off to the races and it's another story. So it varies, but it usually, where we all have that hockey in common, yeah, whether it's indirectly or directly, we talk about hockey. And that's just you know, because most of us have, that's not only been a theme of our lives, it's been the main theme.
Terry Ryan joining us on set from Shoresy season 4 shooting. So a couple of segments with TR. I want to ask you, and we'll get into the Oilers situation with the offer sheets in the next segment, but kind of a unique one there out in Toronto with Austin Matthews taking the C from John Tavares. What do you think the dynamic's going to be like next season? John Tavares, obviously vet in this league, seems like he was happy to do it, but what do you think it's going to be like in that room?
I might be one of the only ones thinking this, but I don't think a whole lot will change. I think, you know, it's the same car, just painted a different color. From what I did pay attention to this last night before I went to bed. The last bit of conscious reading and thinking that I did was read up on that situation, and I listened to his words, Tavares. I thought the press conference went as good as it possibly could have, really. There was a little outside chance that maybe he'd be a bit upset, or you could kind of see maybe some, I don't know what the word would be, tension, or, you know, I was just wondering what's going to happen. But, I mean, I'm not surprised. John Tavares, other than I know he gets flack for not being physical, but I think he is. I know he doesn't fight. And to me, I could never play and take like a shot in front of the net and go my whole career without fighting back like multiple times. But he's not me. I understand that. Is he a great leader? Yes, I really believe that. I know the Leafs haven't done a lot of winning, but since they signed that guy, he's gone there and he's had a point a game or close to every year. Last year, a slight tail off in his mid-30s. So people that might have had a problem with the contract, look, you knew from day one. Now looking back at it, it's not really, I mean, I think it was overpay from the beginning, but still, he did the job you asked of him. And I think he was a great leader. And, you know, they didn't make it far, but when they did make it to the second round, didn't he score the goal? I think he's done an exceptional job at being the captain of a team with so much pressure. And during his tenure, not due to just him, I mean, everybody failed at the same time. But, you know, I think given, you know, they won one round in his time. So that must have been a hard time to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs with all that pressure. And you know, he never really lost his cool too much in the media. You know, the Leafs in general, you're talking about giving it from Tavares to Matthews. Say what you want about the Leafs. They're good guys off the floor. They're off the court or the ice. They're, you know, they've got a good rep. They enjoy being Toronto Maple Leafs. They want to be there. They don't be out making a fool of themselves at bars or restaurants or wherever, partying, or to each their own, but they don't. I mean, again, for the most part, there's exceptions, but, you know, they're not over on social media a lot, you know, making comments that the team has to defend. They're very responsible, professional athletes. And if it happened yesterday, I don't think it was a shock. I think they probably all know it, and they knew it was coming. And here's the other thing. There's one thing. Now, first of all, before I get to this, from the Leafs' point of view, I mean, it's great. They're going to sell so many more jerseys, you know, Tavares, Matthews jerseys with that one little letter difference. A lot of people aren't going to change the letter. They're going to get a new jersey. So I'm sure Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment are loving it. And plus, if you're captain of a team, it makes it a little harder to walk away when it comes time. So, and he's going to have 4 or 5 years now, what is the contract, whatever it is, of Austin Matthews, captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, already arguably the best Leaf ever. I don't say that because he hasn't won, but you could make that argument. So going into the future, I really think from what it looks like from a fan, if I'm not a fan of just the Leafs. I mean, just what I think, trying to be objective, looking at this from a fan's point of view. I think if it's me, I'd probably make actual moves with the core four with the Leafs, but that didn't happen. So this again is just changing things a little bit, but changing nothing. But I do think it's a nice tweak. And lastly, I will say this. For so much public opinion, I've always said this. And again, this is a little bit unique because we kind of have more of the inside story than most. But if there's one thing I think the public should relax at commenting on, it's captains of teams. Because 90 to 95% or more happens in that room. And the reason you're the captain has nothing to do with Terry Ryan and Sudbury filming Ted Hitchcock Shoresy, right? It does have to do with Robertson or Marner or Riley or whoever is on that team, and what you have to man and what they think of what's going on internally for the most part. Of course, you got to answer interviews, and there are many external things, but most of it's in a room. So I always find it uncomfortable for me to comment on who should be the captain of a team that I'm not on. And the reason I say it, the last thing, is because when I played in Montreal, again, I was very impressionable. If you look at Hockey DB, you won't see a lot of games played, but you'll see 3 years of a young kid being, looking up to my idols. The Habs are my favorite team. And 96, 97, I only played 4 games, but I was there most of the year. I went to Red Deer in February at the trade deadline, and I was there to learn from guys. And I'm telling you, it wasn't always the obvious. It wasn't always the Vincent Damphousse, the Saku Koivu, the Pierre Turgeon, who were all captains when I was there, I think. But, Mark Recchi, that would be obvious as well. Shane Corson would be obvious. But Stefan Quintal, he wore the C for the Habs a little bit. No one would have thought of that, but I was in the room, and he ran the room. And I know why he was our captain for the odd game, right? But no one else would have said it. And no one else would have been justified in the public in even having an opinion because they wouldn't have known because he was very soft-spoken. Scott Thornton was another one. Turner Stevenson was another one, ended up winning a cup with Jersey a few years later. These guys were so vocal. And in the practice, watching Turner Stevenson, how hard he worked, it made me a different person. And although I couldn't relay that into stats on Hockey DB, I'm telling you that as I sit here, what's the fabric of Terry Ryan, a lot of those people rubbed off on me, and it wasn't always the captain. And had I voted, I probably would have voted for one of those guys. So, I will tell you that I think it's a decent move from the limited knowledge I have because I don't like to comment on captains in any sport and any team that I'm not on.
TR, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Edmonton Oilers, the offer sheets, and might ask you just the change in ownership. What kind of impact does that have on the players, if any? It's the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, as well as the Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook pages, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Jonathan and Murray are friends.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Except when they talk about which stadium is more fun in the summer.
Dude, Commonwealth has Elks fan park. Tailgating at its finest.
But it can't compare to the old ballpark in the River Valley. Riverhawks games are electric. But ask them who makes the best beef jerky in Alberta, and they'll tell you.
Wilhauk Beef Jerky.
It's the only thing everyone can agree on. So, pick some up for your summer pregame snack.
Wilhauk Beef Jerky, because you don't win friends with salad.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is your supplier of maximum comfort, bringing you the cool AC you need. You just have to
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
for comfort at night when the hot air suffocates you.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
For comfort in your wallet with no payments or interest for 1 year.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
You deserve comfort. Cool off today with AC from Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Buying a vehicle at Sherwood Honda comes with 0% intimidation. Seriously, they want you to feel comfortable. So ask anything. There are no dumb questions. How does this car compare to that truck? Ask it. Could the payment be this much instead? Feel free to ask. At Sherwood Honda, you can ask anything without fear of judgment. Like, do you folks have a jingle? Okay, a few dumb questions. And if you have questions about car buying, it sure would make sense to ask Sherwood Honda.
Are you afraid of losing your car or home due to debt? Don't let fear or shame hold you back from seeking help. Bankruptcy is not the only option. A consumer proposal can reduce your monthly payments, lower your overall debt, and allow you to keep your assets. My name is Parveen Middleton. I'm a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton. I'm here to help you tackle your debt. Take the first step towards regaining control of your finances. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to learn more.
Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz. We've got TR on the line. Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson, a whole lot of us here. Kate Bush, Declan, is that who that was?
Kate Bush. I didn't want to fade it down. I almost shut your mic off myself just so we could let that one run a little longer.
Well, I mean, you could have let it go underneath me, but then we're getting into copyright laws.
It's a sticky one.
You said there's a trend with all your music, and I'm like, okay, well, that was in Stranger Things. I know
that was in Stranger Things.
Got very popular once again because of Stranger Things.
Yeah, you gotta think about the last half of yesterday and then all day today and the ascension of the songs.
Running up that hill.
Oh, I didn't even do that on purpose. But yeah.
Wanye, you got any guesses?
Declan plays 7D chess. He can't be here thinking like I do checkers.
Listen,
like, guys, you gotta understand I'm so much smarter than both of you. Like, I don't expect you two to understand. You know what I mean? Like, my mind just operates in ways you couldn't even fathom. So
it's true. I'm hearing beats per minute when I hear music, and Declan's, I assume it's lyrics.
I hear in colors mostly.
Oh, the way you interpret things. Very interesting. Let's go around the NHL. You can cool down at McDonald's with $1 cones or $2 sundaes topped with either hot fudge or caramel sauce. Get your cones and sundaes at McDonald's. I'm going to grab a $1 iced coffee, extra sweetener personally. At TR, joining us on set of Shoresy season 4 filming now. TR, we said we'd talk about it. You know, it's a few days old, but we haven't had you on since. So the offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues to the Edmonton Oilers' younger prospects, Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. To me, I say, for Mr. Armstrong out in St. Louis, very savvy moves. I respect it. You saw an opportunity and you went for it. But what was your takeaway, surprise, shock, respect when you saw this news on Tuesday morning?
Okay. So you're literally getting a raw opinion here because I don't know any commentary. I don't know how people have reacted to this. So I was hugely surprised. But it makes total sense to me, but I was surprised because it tends to not happen. Now in this world, I guess people say because GM respect or whatever, which I find really funny because there's so many other avenues that there's just no respect and everything is about the almighty dollar. And it's so funny that we got this little tiny avenue in hockey hidden away that everybody uses, goes back to as respect. Well, why didn't you offer someone who was an RFA? Well, respect. It doesn't have much respect. So I think it totally makes sense from St. Louis's point of view. The Oilers, probably the Cup favorite. Throw a little bit of adversity at them. Why not? If the management didn't change, It probably would be a different story given the relationship that Ken Holland had with St. Louis. But from St. Louis's point of view, I don't understand the almost $5 million for Broberg. I don't know what people thought there. I think he's going to be a good player, possibly great. And I was a big fan when he went into the playoffs, and I thought they should have put him in. I stood behind him, but you want to go for a cup here. Well, every team playing technically wants to go for a cup, whether you're ready or not. But I just think that's overpay for anybody. That's overpay for that player. I mean, for any team in the league to give that player almost $5 million. So I would stay away from that, and I'd just take the pick. That's what I would do. Dylan Holloway is different from the perspective. I just think I see potential in both, but Holloway came in. I don't know. Maybe it's because I identify more. Maybe I'm being subjective here and I'm biased towards him because I'm a left-handed shooting forward. But I just see when he started to get comfortable, I could really see a difference, and that was last season. The seasons before, there was flashes of it. One of his first exhibition games, I remember him scoring. I was at the game, and I said, "Wow, man, what a the guy got speed, right? Like kind of like." A few of them, the Oilers, those younger guys had that speed, but Holloway really stood out. And he made some moves, and then you wouldn't see him, and then he'd play a little bit, and then he'd be on the fourth line. And I know what that's like. But this year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, really, you talk about getting your feet wet, and then you jump into that. He didn't have a whole lot of NHL experience, parts of a few seasons, never a full one, and then came in, and I thought he did a stand-up job. I mean, he played, and not just 2 shifts a game. He played, and they made the final. So they made Game 7 of the final, nearly won it all. And I'm not going to say he was a huge part, but he was a part. He was a noticeable part of that team. So I think he'll end up being every bit of that $2 million player or and change. I really do. Years ago, I remember when this same sort of thing happened to Kotkaniemi with Montreal. I know it was more money, but take the money away, just the offer that these guys were offered, offer sheets being RFAs. I'm way more comfortable with Holloway as now as a player than I was then with Kotkaniemi. I just think he's got a lot more to give. And I think if St. Louis end up getting him, which I don't think they do, I think the Oilers will match. But if they do, he'll probably play more, and I think he could get 20 goals. I don't think I'm being out on a limb when I say that, but who knows? That's what I think. I would keep Holloway, and I would let Broberg walk and take the pick. I don't know what people are thinking. Maybe I'm out to lunch. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't disagree with you. The one thing I do think is it is tougher to find a young defenseman with Philip Broberg's ceiling than a forward, just because, the Edmonton Oilers did go out and sign Skinner. They brought in Victor Arvidsson. They've got some depth pieces there. You got Savoy from the Buffalo Sabres. So maybe there is that young piece that you could bring up. But at the same time, no one's going to tell you you're wrong when you say $4.5 million for Philip Broberg at this point in his career is a little steep. Maybe in 1 year's time, we're saying, okay, that was a good offer. But I think it is important to realize, TR, he still is just 80 regular season games into his career. You pay him $4.5 million. I think I'm correct in saying this. But there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad as well for Philip Broberg in the next couple seasons.
Yeah, and here's the thing, but here's why I think it's a ballsy and almost courageously smart move by St. Louis, because I'm saying that to you, almost, or 4.5 seems very rich for Broberg. But the thing is, you wouldn't laugh at me if I said he was worth more than that in a year, right?
No.
There's a big chance, because he didn't just come out of nowhere either. He's always been highly regarded as a player, and he's never really done much to plummet from that mountain that he was. He just hasn't really got a lot of experience. So I totally know what you mean, and it's just the money is so much in it, and with that cap space thing. But I know I'm very wary, and I know exactly what you mean. I love Holloway, but I don't want to say easier to replace, but you have more moving parts that are similar to Holloway than just getting a standout defenseman. And there's a lot of signs pointing to Broberg as, he's really going to mature and be a great D. So I don't know. That's why I think it's a brilliant play, though. You could chop this up any which way to Sunday, and I would probably see the argument that you'd come at me with. So who knows what's going to happen, but I love it, and I hope it happens more.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes things interesting. And at the end of the day, the Edmonton Oilers could have prevented this by not leaving two UFAs who are young and highly touted available for these offer sheets. And, now we'll see what happens. Stan Bowman, relatively new to the team. Not only does he have to discuss that Leon Draisaitl contract, but now you're talking about two young players who I think in a perfect world, you try to retain if they go down that route. We've had a lot of people saying, you'll have potentially Evander Kane on the LTIR. We don't know for how long. Then you could make a true trade. Could it be Cody Ceci on the way out? That frees up a little bit of space. And then there's the opportunity to send some guys down to Bakersfield, create a couple $1 million there. But it's a headache we didn't see coming.
Yeah, and you know what? This is it, though. We talk about John Tavares going to the hard areas. We talk about Ceci having up and down, but he was there. Like all these players, people are down on Ceci, but they all got to the final. So everybody ended up doing Nurse. They all did, right? There was ups and downs, but they all did their job, and there's Stanley Cup contending, to say the least, team that were in Game 7, and something got them there. So, it's going to be a little bit of a shakeup. But when we talk about all those things I was saying earlier, we're talking about adversity for players. Do they go to the hard areas? I just had Brent Sopel on. He said, Soaps was an all-star in the West. Would go to especially when he got to the Blackhawks, he said, I'm a D all of a sudden with superstar leading, the year he won the Cup. And he said, I had to adjust. And I didn't block many shots before that point, but he said I became, that year at least, my focus was to stay at home, make the good breakout pass, block shots. Well, the same thing goes for GMs and ownership and everything else. Yeah, you made your job a little bit harder. That's the way it is. Figure it out, right? Oh, too bad for Stan Bowman. Well, yeah, I don't know. We just paid you a lot of money to come in, and we picked you because, and there was a lot of baggage, but we picked you because you're supposed to do it, and you're good at this. So I don't feel bad for any GM, including Stan Bowman, that got to work his way out of this. I think it's good for the league. It'll make him work more, and that's never a bad thing for me as a fan to see, and I'm guessing most others out there as well that are hockey fans.
Absolutely, and let's be real here. Not too much sympathy for Stan Bowman and the Edmonton Oilers in the hockey world. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, especially in the next few days. They've got till next Tuesday to figure out what they're going to do with those offer sheets. Terry, thanks so much for making some time for us today. We know how crazy this schedule is, so it means a lot to have you hop on the show for a couple minutes.
I really do appreciate it. I'm going to go right back now and finish Ted Hitchcock scenes for the day. I'll talk to you guys in just a few days. Thank you very much, Connor. Thank you, Wanye. Thank you, Declan. Is Declan in there today?
Oh, he's here.
Okay, Declan, I didn't realize. Thank you very much. Thank you, Edmonton. And I will see you guys in just a few days.
There you go. That is Terry Ryan, Newfoundland Sports Hall of Famer, star of Shoresy, former NHLer. The guy is very, very busy. So for having him to come on for a couple segments, pretty nice.
Must be a weird life being on set all day long because so much of time is spent waiting.
Yeah.
Right. I think I read one time that's like 30 seconds of actual footage takes 12 hours to film.
That's crazy.
Right. So when you actually think about how much like an episode of Shoresy probably takes 2 weeks to shoot?
Yeah, I don't know.
3 weeks to
20-ish minutes an episode. Maybe they really get rolling.
So for him to say, like, I have a studio on set and I come in and do other things and do hits and calls and stuff like that. Like, imagine you didn't.
Yeah.
Imagine just sitting around all day long, waiting for your 30-second scene, which you're going to film 41 times today. Have you ever seen a TV show get filmed, Connor?
No, I've never been invited in on one of those sorts of things. Have you?
I've seen it happen. I wasn't part of it, but they shot a sitcom on my street once in about 2014. And so we just watched them film it over and over and over and over and over. It was probably 25, 30 takes just to get one scene right. Crazy.
Was it The Last of Us?
No, it was a show on the Comedy Network. And there was a house across the street that was about to get knocked down. And because it was able to be knocked down, they were able to shoot some stuff. I can't remember all the details, but over and over and over.
I like it. That's it. You got to get that one shot. That was Around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. $1 cones, $2 sundaes. Go get yours. You can get hot fudge or caramel at McDonald's. We'll take a break. When we come back, it is the Cantork Racing Report with Colin Livingston of Cantork. That's coming out next year on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, as well as Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the word. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
Rule number 37. Elk Island mosquitoes don't believe in personal space. Keep bug spray ready at all times. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instance, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
You turn on the tap and water comes out. You press the handle and flush the toilet. Living in our modern world, we sometimes take for granted or don't even think about all of the services and conveniences that are around us every day. But GS Construction does. Right under your feet, there's a whole network of underground infrastructure that needs to be built and maintained in order to have these basic services. GS Construction has been laying the groundwork for your community for 50 years. Find out more by going to gsconstruction.ca.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is your supplier of maximum comfort, bringing you the cool AC you need. You just have to call Legacy. Call Legacy for comfort at night when the hot air suffocates you. Call Legacy. Call Legacy for comfort in your wallet with no payments or interest for 1 year. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. You deserve comfort. Cool off today with AC from Legacy Heating and Cooling.
The only thing as hot as the weather this summer is a night out at On the Rocks. Every weekend, enjoy live music and top DJs spinning your favorite tracks. The dance floor is the place to be. Celebrating a birthday or stagette? Let OTR take the work out of the planning for you. Book your party online at ontherocksedmonton.com. Join OTR every evening from 4 p.m. for a great atmosphere and good company. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Grab your Good Vibe Drive and head to On the Rocks, corner of Jasper Ave and 118th Street.
For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And nothing moves Albertans better than Canada's best-selling truck, the Ford F-150. Here now with rates as low as 0% or savings up to $17,000. That's the value you've come to expect from where cars always cost less. 0% or $17,000 off F-150s. Only at Denham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
Well, once again, we had some serious heat this summer. Lots of plus 30, not a lot of sleep. Am I right? Hi, Dennis from Lease Johnson, reminding you that now is the time to book your Daikin air conditioner installation. But Dennis, it's getting cooler. I will just wait until next year. I know, but AC prices are only going to be higher then because of further industry changes. So don't wait. Order your Daikin AC now and get it installed and primed for operation for next year. So when the heat hits, you're sleeping like a baby. Visit wjcools.com today.
button if you're able to. And to everyone listening in Radio Land, we appreciate you as well. The Jason Gregor Show brought to you by playalberta.ca. And you've heard Jason talking about it a couple times here or there. This being Thursday, it is the Daily Grand, $1,000 a day for 20 years. Could you buy a football team with that much money? I don't think so, but you could have a lot of fun going to a lot of games, doing a lot of things. So head over to playalberta.ca, get your ticket today. Right now, it's going to be the Cantork Race Report, brought to you by Cantork. Excited to announce that we now have machining capacity in-house. You know what that means. Quicker turnarounds, improved quality control, and ultimate flexibility. Call 780-436-2000 or email colin@cantork.com to find out more, or send in a text to 1-833-401-1440 because Colin is in the house right now. Colin, good afternoon.
Holy moly, Connor. First of all, this is awesome. The last time we got to do this, just you and I, we were in the old building at the old station.
Yeah.
But being in the same room at the same time as Wanye Gretz, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to concentrate here today.
I imagine
pretty awesome.
You've met some big names in the sporting world, but none bigger than Wanye.
I mean, last weekend I was, obviously we race with tag. I was, hanging out with Andrew Ranger, LP Dumoulin, some of the biggest names in NASCAR Canada. But I mean, like his presence is palpable. I can't even see him, and I know he's standing right there. This is so cool.
Yeah, he has that. He lingers. He just lingers at the glass doors. But,
is that what that is?
Yeah. I see him in the corner of my eye. Well, let's get to the world of motorsports. Lots to get to here. I got to start with the Federated Parts or Auto Parts 400.
Yeah.
And Austin Dillon wins. The race stands, but there's some controversy, and maybe the behavior of him during the final few minutes of that race controversial. Me as a casual, I liked it. But for those who might have missed it, what exactly happened?
So there were a couple of things at play. First of all, I'm going to reiterate, I am not a fan of NASCAR.
Yeah.
I went away, Second of all, there's a differentiation between U.S. professional NASCAR, which is the Cup Series, Xfinity, and the Truck Series, versus what we do in NASCAR Canada. It's millions of dollars difference, and an absolute world apart. But I went away from the U.S. based series a long time ago because it's become so contrived and so predictable, trying to make everything exciting that it's not exciting anymore because it's so predictable that, they invented a long time ago what was called a green-white checker finish. So if a caution came with any more than one lap to go, traditionally, the race would just finish under caution. IndyCar still does that. F1 will still do that. NASCAR says no. If there's a caution with any more than one lap to go, when you run out of the specified laps, they go into what they call overtime, which that's a stick and ball concept. That's not really a motor racing concept, but I digress. That means the field gets bunched right up again. There's chances for people to make pit stops, change their car. No problem with that at all. But then you've got 2 laps. So when you restart, they throw the green flag, you come back around, and as long as there's not a catastrophe or an accident, they throw the white flag and then the checkered flag, hence green, white, checker. And that's what happened last weekend in Richmond. The guy who was leading at the time of the caution was Austin Dillon. Austin is the grandson of Richard Childress, who, oddly enough, runs Richard Childress Racing. On the restart, Dillon got a really bad start. Joey Logano drove away from him, took the lead, was pulling away pretty convincingly, where Dillon, and this is where so much of this is contrived. There were a bunch of things going on that Dillon wanted the win because every race car driver wants to win, but he was 32nd in points, and they only have a handful of races left before they get to their quote unquote playoffs, which is another contrived bunch of nonsense. He knew that if he won the race, he automatically got entered into the playoffs. So Logano takes off. He's pulling away. Dillon's only option, because he couldn't drive to him, he couldn't drive around and pass him like a race car driver. He just drove up to the back of him, stuffed him, caused him to crash. In the incident, and when you do that, you naturally slow down. Denny Hamlin drove to the inside. His spotter is yelling at him, wreck him, wreck him, wreck him, which is not exactly what you want to hear over the radio. Dillon comes in. He does what's called a right hook. So he basically slammed his left front into Denny Hamlin's right rear, causing him to go piling up into the wall, so that like he wiped out 2 cars on the last lap. This is not racing. Now, Dylan was desperate and he did what he had to do, but it went way too far. And unfortunately, NASCAR as an entity, and you know, it's a good friend of ours that's the race director at the Cup Series. But NASCAR as a group, by their own admission, they don't have a mechanism in their rules to take away a win. So it doesn't matter what you do, the win will stand. They, to my knowledge and to my memory, they've never physically taken a win away. They've caught guys cheating. They've caught guys with illegal parts. They've caught them. They catch them after the race. The win stands, but no prize money, no points, no whatever, or they get a big fine or whatever it is. Dylan's win stands, but he's not eligible for the playoffs. His spotter, who obviously was not really talking in the spirit of the benefit of the sport, he's suspended for 3 races. Joey Logano expressed his displeasure with the situation by pulling onto pit road and doing a burnout onto Austin Dillon's car. Very dangerous. There were a lot of people, you know, NASCAR is making a point of saying that there were all kinds of people on pit road. There were, you know, women holding kids and all the rest. My question, first of all, is why were they allowed anywhere near the track or pit road while cars were still coming in? Like, NASCAR at some point has to accept responsibility. It is their playground. It's their rule book. They can't just say, well, we don't have a rule to like, so again, the problem with this kind of stuff, and you know this from any kind of sport that you watch, even though you're not the biggest motor racing fan in the world, if you don't penalize bad behavior, then it's going to continue and it's going to get worse. And you know, competitors are going to use every means that they have. A couple of years ago, Ross Chastain, you know, made his Hail Mary. He was outside of a playoff spot, came to a restart, threw his cart up along his cart. Sorry, I spent a lot more time at the go-kart track. Threw his car up on the wall and rim road, like used the fence to keep his car in play to pass like 8 cars on the last lap, which gave him the playoff spot. At the time, it wasn't deemed as illegal. NASCAR took a look at it and said, you can't ever do that again because you can't use outside forces to help, you know, win the race. But these kinds of things have happened a lot and they just don't do anything about it. You know, Denny Hamlin, very, very vocal, you know, talking about how, you know, obviously somebody in Daytona, which is where NASCAR's head office is, they love this kind of quote unquote stuff. Joey Logano with another great quote that said, you know, basically, I want to get it right, but he basically said that he sucked his whole career and, you know, it's kind of expected, but you know, they keep proving to me why I don't want to go back because, you know, that kind of stuff. I love sports and I love forms of motorsport like karting, IndyCar, Formula One, what we do in the Pinty series for the most part, where drivers can show talent. They can show that they can out-control another driver. They can drive a bit deeper. They can carry a bit more speed, whatever it is. Any idiot can drive into another car. It takes no skill at all. That's why I really dislike that stuff.
He's a piece of crap. He's sucked his whole career. I believe that was the quote.
That's perfect.
Now, I want to ask you, so we head to Michigan now in NASCAR. Traditionally, does this sort of stuff carry over? And does someone who maybe was back of the pack think, you know, I don't like that. And if I get the opportunity and I see Dylan, maybe I spin him out too. Like, does that stuff carry over?
Without question, but it gets filed away for a suitable time at a suitable track. I'll be candid. I didn't watch the race. I just saw the highlights, and it was actually the end of the race was on in the hotel when I was in Quebec. But like at Richmond, they maybe hit 135, 140 miles an hour. It's a short track. They have to go really slow through the corners. Michigan, they'll be pushing up to 200 miles an hour, and that's not where you want to try and exact revenge. But coming up, you know, especially once they get into the quote unquote playoffs, is Martinsville, half-mile paperclip oval, and it will be absolute pandemonium unless NASCAR puts their foot down.
Colin Livingston joining us here on the Cantork Racing Report on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley sitting in. Now let's go to F1. Summer shutdown. Next race, I believe, in Netherlands. What does Formula One do during this kind of shutdown period. I mean, how do we keep the fan engagement involved?
Well, fan engagement kind of goes away because the teams are mandated basically through all performance departments. Anything that goes on the car, improves the car, whether it's CAD, wind tunnel, actual part production, they are required to shut down for 2 consecutive weeks. Now,
Okay.
they basically have a 4-week break, but the 2 weeks, whether they do the first 2 weeks, they do 2 in the middle, 2 at the end, it doesn't really matter. That has to happen. So everyone from team principals to drivers to engineers to the janitors, even in a lot of cases, their social media people will take that time off. But now that most of the teams have fulfilled that requirement, we're starting to see a lot more chatter leading up to next weekend's race back at Zandvoort. So sooner than later, we'll get back. But I think it's great that we can actually focus on other series for a change. F1 doesn't need our help. But, some of the smaller ones do.
It's the Formula One Heineken Dutch Grand Prix. We'll touch on that maybe next week as we get a little bit closer to it. IndyCar, what's going on?
Finally, IndyCar also took a shorter summer break. Don't have the same requirement as F1. So teams have been testing basically because NBC covers IndyCar. They didn't have the personnel with the Olympics. So while that was going on, they got another shutdown.
Mhm.
This is the second one after the 5-week shutdown at the beginning of the year. But finally getting back, 5 more races at 3, I want to get this right, 3 ovals and 1 more street or road course at Portland next weekend. Championship is still up for grabs. 18 drivers still have a legit shot or a mathematical shot at the championship. Alex Palou leads right now with 2 of the best, Will Power and Scott Dixon in second and third. Was really, really happy to see a couple of our old friends, Connor Daly. I got to spot for Connor a couple of years ago at the Rolex 24, and one of my all-time favorites, probably the first crush I ever had on a race car driver, is Catherine Legg, and she's back in for Dale Coyne this weekend. So be fun to see how they do. I know they've both been working really hard, and hopefully they get a decent car this weekend.
No, how about you karting? Anything coming up?
We've got 1 race left. Our group was out on track last night, but because I didn't get back from Quebec until almost 3 a.m. yesterday morning, and we had to do a day trip to Lloyd, that had me on the road at, before 7 a.m. yesterday, I skipped it. But other than that, we've got 1 last race at Warburg. Anybody who listens, it's always free admission. It will be fun. Most of the championships I think are decided, so everybody will be out there legitimately just having fun racing. We shouldn't have a lot of big incident.
No Austin Dillon type things? Nobody you got a vendetta you want to settle against?
Not that I would ever talk about.
Okay, that's smart. That's smart.
But legitimately, no. I've only done 4 races this year with our off-camper karters group. But I'll definitely make a point of catching our last race just because, it's the end of the season. We've got a major reconstruction going on. So the track is shutting down early so that we can repave and, do some other track improvements, and then look forward to getting back to EDKRA in 2025 with fresh pavement and new attitude.
Excellent. Well, Colin, thanks so much for doing this. So we'll do it again next week as well.
Always a pleasure, Connor.
There you go. That is Colin Livingston in the Cantork Race Report, talk in the world of motorsports. Still to come on this show, we will be joined by a former member of the Green and Gold, Eddie Steele. Talk a little bit about the comments today as the transition period begins for the Double E in our city. We'll also be joined by Mark Spector, and we'll talk some Minnesota Vikings with Arif Hassan. Later on in the show, the NFL tour continues here on the Jason Gregor Show. That's coming up next and more. Right now, though, we'll get to a Sports 1440 update with Declan Kruger, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, home of no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool all summer at legacyheating.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
The summer road lays ahead. Your potential destinations are endless. Volvo Cars Edmonton gives you choice to match. Right now, lease a 2024 Volvo XC90 from 0% for qualifying loyal customers. Or save $7,000 on all new 2024 XC60 recharge plug-in hybrid models. All demo vehicles come with a free 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. No matter what you decide this summer will become, your first choice is Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Well, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries.
Every generation before you has also been the most progressive generation.
And Jimmy Carr.
I don't know how to explain this to you. I'm not that small. I'm just far away.
One night, two comedy icons. September 8th, Rogers Place. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.ca. The Charm Offensive with Jim Jeffries and Jimmy Carr. Produced by Outback Presents.
The Toronto Blue Jays are on Sports 1440. Every weekend, catch all the action with play-by-play announcer Ben Schulman. The Blue Jays, this Saturday and Sunday on Sports 1440. Edmonton's home for all things sports. Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
Bacon or sausage and egg McMuffin? It's a delicious dilemma. But what if you didn't have to choose? The Mighty McMuffin is back with bacon and sausage. Mighty McMuffin, mighty impressive. For a limited time at participating McDonald's in Canada.
Buying a vehicle at Sherwood Honda comes with 0% intimidation. Seriously, they want you to feel
Green
comfortable.
Gold had been
So
community
ask
owned since the
anything.
clubs.
There are no dumb questions. How does this car compare to that car? Ask it. Could the payment be this much instead? Feel free to ask. At Sherwood Honda, you can ask anything without fear of judgment.
You might
Like,
play
do
Alberta
you
talk.
folks have a jingle? Okay, a few dumb questions. And if you have questions about car buying, it sure would make sense to ask Sherwood
Yeah.
Honda.
If you've ever restored a classic car or seen one,
Well, welcome back. It is the J.
Because you know what it took to get that beauty looking pristine. The same is true for men who restore their hair. Nothing but smiles for miles. Patients from all over Canada travel to see me, Dr. Vance Elliott, to have their hair loss treated. and Remedy. I've been helping people for 28 years. My practice is outfitted with the most innovative and latest hair transplant techniques and technology. And I do it myself. Contact us at drvancelliot.com.
Now that I know there's a correlation with all these songs, like I kind of thought Declan was doing a one-day thing, and now it's continued on. I'm going to be putting all these things together after the show. What does it all mean, Declan?
He's a grandmaster, our Declan.
You're on the wrong track a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. Stranger Things. We'll try to put it together. Maybe Declan will let us know. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440. Every song that plays has a meaning coming from Declan. So if you're listening on the old AM dial, you're hearing it. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on Facebook, ideally you're not hearing that music.
Help us solve this, though.
For copyright reasons.
This is above our pay grade, Connor and I. We don't know what the links are.
We'll get it one day. Maybe you'll have a dream about it and immediately write it down on your notepad.
I had a buddy, apparently, it's funny. People are listening to this, Connor. I don't know if you know this.
No,
a buddy of mine texted me afterwards and goes, I remember how you used to write stuff down beside your bed. What a weirdo you are. And I was like, wasn't that nice? Thank you for your comments.
It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, brought to you by playalberta.ca. Tonight, you got the Daily Grand, $1,000 a day for 20 years. And also, we got the Lotto Max coming tomorrow. So head over to Play Alberta. Check it out. You can also have some fun. We got CFL action tonight, NFL preseason, Major League Baseball, futures, all sorts of fun to be had at playalberta.ca. Stay within your limits. Use your game sense. And we're coming to you live from the eWell studio, where the real power plays to shop at ewell.ca for all your electrical needs. 24/7, ewell.ca is your partner in power. My name is Connor Halley. He's Wanye Gretz. We got Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson here in the studio. Lots to get to still on the show. Of course, we are going to be joined by Eddie Steele, former member of the Green and Gold, a guy who did it all, could play offensive or defensive line. He was down at the press conference today, as was our very own Donovan Paulson and Kevin Carries, had it surrounded. We'll get the thoughts from Eddie Steele and just what he kind of thought. And what does this mean? You know, as a member of the alumni, a little more stability. Hopefully someone is going to take this team in the right direction. Larry Thompson, of course, from Thompson Brothers Construction, had a lot of success. Now he is the sole owner of this team, along with his wife, Deb, so they'll have the control. What's the next step? What do you do? Are you trying to hire that next president, the CEO, to get things in order? Wanye, a pretty successful businessman.
My goodness.
I would say.
I appreciate it.
Now, if Larry Thompson reaches out and says, Mr. Gretz.
Yes, of course.
I've seen what you've done with Oilers Nation and plenty other things. Oodle noodle.
Thank you.
What's the next step here? What do we do?
I think that you have to do a page one rewrite. I think you have to take a good long look at everything that's worked in the past and then take a look at what works in the market right now for, like, the Savannah Bananas is a great example, right? You familiar with the team, Connor?
Dancers.
Right.
And baseball players.
Now, it's a bit silly. It's a bit like Harlem Globetrottery, right? But what they've proven is that there's a market for this. And they started out in Savannah, right, in Georgia, I believe. And then they've continued to grow and continue to grow and continue to grow, embracing only the fun. It doesn't matter who plays for the Savannah Bananas. It doesn't matter one iota because they're really focusing on the fan experience. But if you scale it out, what they do this summer, like 10 major league ballparks?
Yeah, they were touring all around, right?
And then they got a TV deal.
Okay.
So the Savannah Bananas now have Saturday night games that are going to be televised, I believe, on TNT. So taking a play out of that playbook and then taking a play out of the Riverhawks playbook and the Stingers playbook as well, because they're doing an amazing job. It's not necessarily about the quality of the sport. It's about the quality of the experience. It's going to be really, really hard for the owner of the Elks to affect the on-field gameplay in a short-term manner. And I think a lot of owners tend to overestimate how smart they are at the sport of the team they own. So they tell the general managers what to do, or they place calls at inappropriate times throughout your franchise's history. I think you got to let the football people football, and you got to focus on rebuilding your corporate alliances, right? As a community-owned team for a long time, I think the Elks have done things a certain way, and a new owner with new relationships with new people and new entities around town, you got to try to change it up. It needs to be a visibly different experience in 12 months from you taking over, so people show up and go, oh, it's different.
I have a question to our listeners. Text it in 1-833-401-1440. Please tell me, what do you want to see? What would make the game day experience better for you? If it's a team name, it can be the team name.
Yeah.
If it is concession prices, that can be at ticket prices. It can be on play, on field. Like, how do you make the game more experience? I like what the Riverhawks have done. Like, you're packed in there. It's a small ballpark, but it's filled out. The atmosphere is going to be good. To me, win or lose, I'm not going to be too concerned. Like, I want to see them win. The product, like you said, that doesn't seem to be as important, but I want to go there. I want to have a good time. I want to enjoy it, have a nice day out at the ballpark.
It's important that you win in the medium term, but like right off the jump, what are you going to do to turn things around? To me, it's just making significant changes to the game day experience. Look at the Atlanta Falcons, right? And Arthur Blank. Have you seen the photos on social? What you can get for $20 at a Falcons game?
It's a feast.
That's crazy. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be to that extent, but I think definitely listening to Elks fans and getting a list of to-dos from them and trying to implement as many as you can in short order. But like, they've done beautiful renos to that stadium. I do not think a new stadium is part of what the Elks need. What do you think?
I mean, no, because it has never been an issue in the past. They've had no issue filling it up. That's what your goal is to get back to, right? Where you have at least 30 to 40,000 people making the trip. If you get back to that level, then no, I don't think so. The facilities there are fantastic. I mean, if you play for the team, you've got a great facility center. You got the basketball court. They have the indoor fields for days like today when it's unfortunately just too smoky to be outside and doing that sort of work. I would be fine with that.
The end zone's a nice area. They've done a lot of work there, right? The concourses, they've done some work. I can see maybe an argument that they can be improved when it's really busy. You can bottleneck fans, but like, I don't think a new shiny stadium is going to suddenly change the finances of the Elks. I think, in fact, it'd make it even harder because you have to have the carrying cost of a new building that big.
No, I mean, I think if you were to take a look at what some of these other franchises have done, and I'm just thinking community-owned teams actually, because they have these stadiums that they have built up. Go out to Winnipeg, the Princess Auto Stadium, capacity is 32,000. Like, that seems like the ideal number for a CFL franchise. Saskatchewan, I believe, similar. You know, you get 30,000 fans in there. That's fantastic. It's going to look good. It's not massive. Commonwealth gets 30,000 fans. Doesn't look that good. Like, it's so spread out, right? And you have people watching from behind the end zones, and it takes away from it just a little bit, although the number is still good. So if they were to do a new stadium, I might chime in and say, look at that like 32,000 range. Try to make it a little more cozy and just make it a kind of a raucous atmosphere. But I think that's down the line for me. I like the idea, like what the Atlanta Falcons have, cheaper food prices. Some of that's out of the Elks' control. It's city owns the stadium. I love the tailgating experience. I think that's just awesome what they've created there. You keep that going and kind of get more people in there. The area of this stadium has been an issue for some people.
I think you're going to
finding
that, though,
parking and such.
Now with the LRT station reopened across the street, that definitely helps.
Yep.
Right?
I hate public transit, but
sporting event, though?
Occasionally I'll suck it up, I guess.
I think a good time to do that is on a sporting event because it is hard to get out of there. As you well know, you've been to million Elks games. It's hard to get out of there when it's busy. Maybe I would look at trying to bring in a big name player, maybe somebody who's looking to rehab their image or somebody who's an NFL player coming off an injury. Like try once you've tried to fix the game day experience the best you can in the short term to make an impact on the field. I mean, getting a free agent or somebody in there that people can get excited about. Like, truly, what was the last marquee Elks player?
I mean, if you're talking former NFL players, it's tough.
Not necessarily
But-
former NFL, but like I remember back in the day, I used to go to games all the time. There was like the Giz back in the day was a huge deal with the kids.
Must watch. I mean, Terrell Walker, Darius Bowman, and Trey Ford. Trey Ford is must watch. He will get people in the seats the longer he plays, and if he's staying healthy.
Then I would try to put a marketing push behind him too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought we saw that last year.
Did we?
I thought we would. And then you go out and you sign McLeod Bethel Thompson, which, okay, if you feel he's going to win you football games, that's great. But the leash had to be shorter. But I think Trey Ford is the guy. I remember going to the first game this season, looking into the crowd, and I saw so many kids with Trey Ford jerseys.
Already.
Guy's dynamic. Like Gregor talks about it. His son's eager to go watch Trey Ford. Why not build that and get him out, like you say, marketing campaign, get him out to events. Maybe, you get these guys going to practices over the summer, talk to the kids. Something you could do.
Do the Elks, and I don't know the answer to this. I wish Gregor were here. He'd know off the top of his head, perhaps, do they sit atop the local football scene? Are they sponsoring local teams? Are they working with local coaches? Are they sending players to the under 10 games to teach them how to block? Like, that's a really important part of it. Is that happening?
I think players do get out to some guys have little camps they do, but maybe ad nauseum, it should be forced down our throats so we see it. We used to have Eskimos players back then, they come out to schools, right?
Yeah.
My dad was a teacher at Louis, and he would say like the Elks players or alum would come out and play the teachers in a charity game. Just little things like that. We talked about it a few days ago. Every Labor Day Classic, you used to get the little coupon. Your parent buys a ticket, you get to go for free. Things like that, always a great initiative. Hanging out with your buddies, going to games. I think those would work. We do have some texts coming in here, Base. I didn't know if people would, understood what I said about like kind of the coziness, but Base says the stadium's not cozy enough. As mentioned, track around the field is such a hindrance. We've got Bobby K saying the problem with the food is controlled by the city. They won't change anything IMO. And that's what we said.
You can if you own the team, right? Like if you just spent however many millions of dollars, you can open up a conversation with the city of Edmonton to say, this may be a city-run facility, but I'd like to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is possible. I think organizational fatigue is a real thing, right? And like people who work for a team for a long time, you get used to doing things a certain way.
Mhm.
Having someone new come in and shake things up, you can look at agreements that you might think are unchangeable.
Playbook Vic says if all you care about is the game, it's better to watch it on TV. They need to focus on value of entertainment. Hey, let me know. Like I'm trying to think halftime shows. I know they're trying to do things. They did like the Dino night. They did 90s night. They're doing these sorts of things. Little kids playing football, always good.
Of course.
And that, like you say, that gets kids in the game. Like, hey, we went and played in the game, but we also got to watch the game. The dogs. Do you remember those?
Of course.
Those things are awesome. I don't know what else there is that really people like, just in terms of halftime.
Let's use
shows.
the Riverhawks as a good proxy because I think like I personally find baseball to be deathly boring. I know you're going to take offense to that, Connor, because you love all sports. Going to a Riverhawks game is fun because they have stupid things like racing. Like the people race around the infield, and that's hilarious. And then you spin around on a bat, then you're dizzy. Ah, ha, 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 ha. These are funny things, even if you don't like baseball. And I think sometimes you want the purists are like, what's your on batting on base percentage? Who the hell cares? Show me a kid racing somebody who's a professional athlete in the infield. That is equally funny.
We'll rip through some text here. Propane P says, I've been saying it forever. CFL players in the market need to be engaged with high school football teams, attend their practices as guest coaches, hold camps, and get high school teams in the building with cheap tickets. High school football teams attending games would make pretty good atmosphere. Yeah, I mean, you see it. Maybe not as much anymore, but I used to see all the guys their little Letterman jackets ripping around. That's a very good idea.
Did you ever go to the games in junior high when it was free? Did you ever have that when you were a kid?
No.
We did. And like one day a year, our entire school, it seemed, would go, I think, in September, like maybe prior to the Labor Day Classic. And you'd see all the other little kids from all the other schools. There was thousands of kids in there for free that night, but you're making memories that you'll come back to 5 years later because you had a good time.
Mm-hmm. Mark says, bring back real grass. Changes the feeling in that building. As a kid, there was nothing like walking in there smelling the cut grass and hot dogs. From Mark L. Nate says, hire the hoodie. Bill Belichick. Oh, he's tracking down history in the NFL. He's going to be back coaching. I got to think. We have Justin saying, could you build one side at a time to find a way to attach the seating to the current concourse? We talking getting rid of the track in that case? Padding the parks is easy. Bring that barbecue back on the end of the stadium. Miss that barbecue smell.
Oh,
I
that's
think
cool.
The hot tubs were always awesome.
That's cool.
Got to get the hot tubs.
You can
back
do
in
this.
There. In regard to the food, it is owned by the city, but also manned by the volunteer groups, and they make their money as a percentage of what is sold. You can ask Gager what he does for his daughter's dance. So food would need a total overhaul, but the city would want more money from the Elks to help. And maybe with an owner, he can say, let's do it. Maybe.
It's hard for me to, on the one hand, be like, oh, we need to make things better. And then the next breath be like, wow, but the food dispensaries can't dispense different food. Like, of course they can. This is all planned out. We order the hot dogs, we order the buns, we sell the food. We could order different hot dogs, different buns. It's not crazy.
Trevor texting in 1-833-401-1440. They need to get back to the promotion where they would give a pass to a kid when they went back to school. And if the parent brought a ticket, kid got in for free. That's what I had mentioned. Like, that's, Dad, I want to go to the game. All right, Sonny, let's go. Like, that gets you in. And then all of a sudden you have a really great time. You gorge 25 mini donuts. You have a pop or two. And then you want to go back. And you want a jersey on your way out.
One of the things that we did with the Riverhawks, we have our company, the River Valley Company, right? And that's Little Brick and other places in the River Valley. And we'd heard from local residents that one of the reasons they didn't like the baseball team was that they used to, back in the day, get free tickets if you lived in the Dales, Riverdale, Cloverdale, Rossdale. And you could make a long-term argument that it's bad form to give people your product away for free. But I think in sports, when you have so many empty seats, you shouldn't be afraid to give your product away for free. You have a really high unused capacity. And like if at the time 80 people from the neighborhood were in your game for free, it's not going to push 80 free or paying ticket people out of the building, right? And so we sponsored it and brought that program back. And people loved it, right? And similarly, like letting kids in for free. Well, how would that help revenue if you're just letting in people for free? One, they're going to spend money on concession. And two, the best way for the Elks to get some alliances going is to get young people in there having a good time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I know people say, like, you never give it away for free. Well, you're not losing money in this case, but you can gain some revenue in other facets.
You can give it away for free if your unused capacity is going to waste every night, right? If you have a seat that's empty at the end of the game, the value of that seat is zero. You're better off to have somebody in there that is a kid or new Canadians or a social group of some sort, right? Help people get to their first Elks game. Make that a priority for the first 5 years. How can you get people in here for the first time?
Team Dean says, I remember being 20 years old, went to IGA, got cheap tickets. It was a party, 40,000 plus. I met Mike Comrie in line for a beer. That was 25 years ago. You got to make it a party again. And I can say, like, me and the crew, we would do that same sort of thing. I can relate to that. You know, we enjoyed watching the football, but it was, let's go to the game, have a few beers, have a bite to eat, watch some fun football, and then let's hop on that yellow school bus that's going to White Ave.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one group of fans. You can try to get back the people that want to have a good time.
Community partners that are going to help bring in groups of people, whether it's a team of some sort, right? Making tickets available as fundraising opportunities for teams. If you gave a kids team 300 Elks tickets and it's their biggest fundraiser of the year to sell, I guarantee you a high level of those tickets are going to get redeemed.
Very quickly, J-Dog says the concessions are brutal. Bring back the dogs at halftime. Brock says Edmonton has 20 to 25 craft breweries in the city. How do we not have at least one brewery featured in the stadium? They have 2 craft beer options. One's from Vancouver, one's from Oregon. That needs to change. I mean, I think the Riverhawks, that's another thing that they've taken advantage of. It's not a bad idea to steal some good ideas from other markets that have made it work. And we'll see. We'll see what happens the next little while here, what kind of changes we get to. But hey, Larry Thompson taking over. I think it's a good thing for this organization. We've got a lot of really good texts. Keep those coming in. 1-833-401-1440. We'll continue this conversation with the real deal, Eddie Steele, coming up next here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson with you. The show brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
Be melancholy, not melancholy. Summer is ripe for fun, and some Booster Juice bestsellers are back in season. Watermelon smoothies, including the refreshing Watermelon Wave, a berry burst of strawberries, raspberries, pomegranate, and vanilla frozen yogurt, and fan favorites, Watermelon Explosion, a refreshing burst of bananas, mangoes, and pineapple, both made with watermelon sorbet and probiotic yogurt. All of the watermelon, none of the seats. Visit a Booster Juice near you today or download the Booster Rewards app.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Rule number 62. Never miss a free pancake breakfast. It's unheard of and frankly a little upsetting. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instants, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
What's cracking at Cattail Crossing? Every Friday after 4 p.m., it's 9 and Dine Fridays. Includes golf for 2 with a power cart at Cattail Crossing and a $50 food voucher at Out of Bounds Restaurant. Only $119.99. Tea times can be booked at cattailcrossing.ca.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase style, regular season gameplay, and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2011 and 2016. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
Have you lost control of your debt following unexpected car troubles, home repairs, an illness, or a divorce? You're not alone. Life happens. My name is Parveen Middleton, a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton, and I'm here to listen to your story. Every day, I craft personalized debt relief solutions to help people like you regain control. Take the first step now. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to book your free consultation.
Midnight tomorrow is the VIP prize deadline in the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation Mighty Millions Lottery. Take charge of the open road with the Porsche Cayman VIP prize or choose $100,000 cash. Plus, be in to win the $2.5 million grand prize, Oilers season seats bonus prize, and so much more. Hurry, VIP deadline is midnight tomorrow. Be mighty and support Stollery Kids. Buy now at MightyMillionsLottery.com.
$14.40. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Jason Gregor, Donovan Paulson. Big army going on here.
If I may, is it something to do with going up and down and falling and rising and up the hill? And every time I see you falling?
No, you guys are cold.
Well, Declan's music means something. So if you can interpret what he's doing here, text in 1-833-401-1440. It is the Jason Gregor Show coming to you live from the eWell Studios here in West Edmonton Mall, brought to you by playalberta.ca. Let's go take a look at the odds for the Elks and Ticats. Both teams 2-7 on Saturday, 5 o'clock kickoff. can come hang out with me at the Castlewood Pub for the watch party if you're interested in coming and watching some great CFL football.
Bet the Elks, they're going to want to have the new boss be impressed.
That's what I'm thinking.
The likelihood they win their first game, high.
I'm totally with you on that one. Why don't we get to let's call it the Green and Gold Report today, brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. The Midsummer event is on now. Lease a new Volvo 2024 XC90 for 0% at Canada's #1 Volvo dealership, VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. We bring in Eddie Steele, Grey Cup champion, also co-host of the Kevin Carius Show, Mondays and Fridays from 7 to 9. He was down there at the press conference earlier today when Larry Thompson was announced as the new owner of the Edmonton Elks. Eddie, good afternoon. How are things going today?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Things are going well. It's a pretty exciting day just because it's new beginnings. First time in franchise history that this team has been under the ownership of a private owner. So interesting times.
Now, we had boots on the ground. You were down there, Carius, Donovan Paulson as well. What were your takeaways from the press conference and what new owner Larry Thompson had to say?
Well, one of my biggest takeaways was he didn't jump off of the stand, the podium with enthusiasm and whatnot. And initially I was kind of taken back by that. But the more I think about it, I kind of liked it. This guy's a businessman. He's not here to be a cheerleader. He's here to run a successful business because that's what he has done in his life. I know a construction company is different than a franchise, but at the end of the day, business is business. And if he is able to do it in a different realm, I'm fully trusting that he can come in and do it in this realm. So, yeah, he wasn't up there giving a whole bunch of, empty calories in terms of speeches and things like that. He said his points, and he was very businesslike, and, I was good with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, he doesn't have to be Mark Cuban to be a good owner. He can come in here, provide stability, write the checks, hire the proper people, and that can result to good things happening on and off the field. I want to just ask you, as a player, would there be any of a distraction with this whole thing going on? Like, obviously the players, their focus is on game film and being ready for the next opponent, but is there a little bit of a distraction in the back of their minds with all this wavering and how that could potentially be gone now?
In honesty, the only distraction I could see as a player would be a positive thing, and you want to go and you want to ball out for your new owner, because at the end of the day, this is a new person who's going to be paying your checks moving forward, and you want to have a positive impact because you want to be a part of this franchise moving forward. So if anything, I would think that it would motivate the players a little bit more. And they're already, feeling pretty confident in that locker room coming off of a two-game win streak, I should say. And, I spoke to some players, I spoke to some coaches down there, and there is just, they're breathing a little bit lighter. They're having a little bit more fun. You can just feel it in the air. And when you win, I've said it for months and months on the radio, when you win, it cures everything, Connor.
I totally agree with you. I think that is the biggest thing. Some might not say it's, the only thing, but I might disagree. We want to see a good product on the field. That's what made your 2015 team so good. We could watch outstanding defense. You had Mike Riley. Like, it was just a good experience going out and watching these games. Now, Eddie, in the previous segment, we had people text in to 1-833-401-1440, and we said, outside of the game, like on the field, what would you like to see as a fan and the experience to be better? We had some people talking about local breweries that they could get involved. Some people in Father of Area saying, how about a donair shop in the stadium? I mean, this city loves donairs. That would be good. You're also seeing lower tickets, better parking, things of that nature. For you, what do you think the Elks organization can do to try to improve the overall experience and getting people back into the stadium outside of winning football games?
Well, you nailed it. You said the word stadium. I actually was going to ask the question to Larry as he was up there on the podium today, and I got sniped right before I was able to ask my question about the stadium and what the future plans are. In my opinion, Commonwealth isn't the venue to be at for football games. It's so far away because you have that track surface separating the game field to the stands. Even if you have a front row seat, it's so far away you can't even see very good the game action. So you look at Winnipeg, you look at Saskatchewan, Ottawa, brand new buildings, and they hold 25 to maybe 32, 33,000. That's all you need in the CFL. Because even if you sell out, say the Elks go on a huge heater and they win every game for the rest of this season and next year, even if you're getting 40,000 people in Commonwealth, it still is looking kind of empty because that building holds up to 60,000. So they need a new barn, something more intimate. And that if you look at the landscape of the CFL, except for, like a BC Place, every other stadium, and I've had the very fortunate opportunity during my playing career, I played in all the old stadiums. And then just so happened during my 10 years in the league, I got to play in all the new stadiums too. So I'm one of the guys who's actually got to touch all the old stadiums and new ones. And they're intimate, they're tight, they're smaller, all the new ones, Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. These new stadiums the atmosphere is everything because it's such a smaller, quainter atmosphere. And that's where you begin for me. It's the stadium. Commonwealth is just too big, too dated, and it's just a big shell.
You said intimate. I went with cozy, talking about the Riverhawks and how you're right in there. The Stingers, same sort of thing. We even brought up the stadium out there in Winnipeg. Like you said, 32,000 people. I mean, the dream situation for me is if you could find a stadium similar to that, build it, whatever it might be, have maybe better parking, and then keep that tailgate experience. That's what makes it great. I mean, they're doing some good things with this organization. The tailgate you have right now is fantastic. Walking around there, you got the music, the food, the drinks, everything's good. And then, like you say, you go into the stadium and you can have 30,000, but when a couple thousand are on each end zone watching from the rails, and then you have this massive stadium, it doesn't look that great, especially on TV. And that unfortunately does lead to negativity.
It does, Connor. And, we're talking about potential renos of Commonwealth. I said this, man, Larry Thompson, he's a construction tycoon. This guy knows how to build a stadium. Why he can do it his way and probably throw up a barn faster than anybody else could. So I think let him run with it.
Eddie Steele, Grey Cup champion, former member of the Green and Gold, also played in Saskatchewan. Wanye Cup champion, knows a thing or two about winning. When you look at this team on the field now, Eddie, Trey Ford, we're unsure. Limited to practice. I don't think the QBs actually participated today. Had that rib injury. We think chest is what they're listing it as. How tough is it going to be to go back to McLeod Bethel Thompson after seeing what we saw and just how much of a difference we saw when Trey Ford makes the field? Like, the guy doesn't even have to throw the football. Just him being out there changes how you attack their offense.
Yeah, it completely changes the dynamic of the game and how you call the game defensively. I don't think Trey is going to go. From what I heard, he wasn't taking reps and he was still kind of around, kind of pulling at the ribs a little bit or whatever it may be, holding at the midsection. So I don't think he's going to be up this week, in all honesty. And the one thing, though, is this team is winning now. They've tasted winning. They've experienced it. I don't think, even though it's going to be McLeod and it's a different dynamic back there at quarterback, I think he's going to be able to facilitate the balls to his playmakers because they have this run game that's been so dominant the past couple of weeks. Yes, I know Trey Ford definitely has an impact on that. But again, these guys, they're playing some cohesive football. And you don't just forget that. And just because your quarterback's not out there, you're just going to go to crap either. McLeod is well capable of getting the job done. He's shown that he can put up some decent stats, although there haven't been any wins. But that's the past. And like I said, now that this team has tasted a couple of wins, they're going out there probably a little more hungrier. And one thing I've noticed over this two-game win streak, Connor, I don't know if you have as well, but they're playing more physical football. And physical football travels well. So it doesn't really matter if your quarterback who's back there. If you can show up and play that physical brand of football, come out there and punch Hamilton in the mouth first, you should have some success against them.
Yeah, I mean, that was something we had talked about a lot in this season. I had said, in my opinion, I thought once they win, it's going to grow because this team is not as bad as their record indicates, in my humble opinion. You go back to this season, they lost to the Argos by 3 points, the Lions 3 points, the Red Blacks 3 points, then the Red Blacks 6 points, like also the Owls by 3. I don't know if I mentioned that one in there, but it seems like, those two games kind of got away from them, and then it got pretty bad. And how can it not? When you're losing those games, at some point, it's just going to snowball and the frustration is going to get to you. But since that little rush in the 0-7 start, 2 straight wins, I just want to ask you, you've played a lot of football at different levels here. When your team starts to get those 2 wins, can you feel a difference in even just the way they practice or maybe the way you are acting, the feeling in the room when you're watching film?
No denying it, man. There is no denying, Connor, that you like I said, you're a little bit lighter. The pressure is off, but it's the confidence, right? More than anything in life, when you have some confidence and you have some success and that confidence grows, you're only going to go out and be better and better and better. And we're seeing that out of this club. It's the confidence as a whole. And we talked about the games that Macbeth played in earlier, some of the tight losses. Well, yeah, he was playing some pretty quality football, but it was other phases that were letting him down. Now they're playing 3-phase football, and he doesn't need to go out and throw for 400 yards and have a world-beater performance. He needs to go out and be a point guard, distribute the ball. Defense needs to play well. BD needs to do his job, keep the ball in bounds on kicks and hit his field goals, and they should have some success because they are playing with some confidence now. And Hamilton, although Hamilton beat them here not too long ago, Hamilton's kind of reeling too because they've now benched Bo Levi Mitchell. They've announced Taylor Powell as their starter. So it's not all roses over there in Hamilton, and they're a team that's been struggling this year as well, and they're not playing with the same confidence that the Elks have.
Eddie, you'll be in tomorrow morning with Kevin Carius on the Kevin Carius Show from 7 to 9. At 8:30, you guys will be joined by Larry Thompson to discuss the new owner of the Elks. Maybe we can tee it up a little bit. What's the big question you have for the new owner?
Oh, that's a really good one, Connor. You know, in all honesty, and he answered it a little bit at the conference today, the media availability, but some of the why. You know, I want to get to know the man a little bit more and some of the why as opposed to why the timing and why he wanted to purchase the club and just what the process was like. And that'd be one of the biggest questions that I wanted to ask him because this is a huge decision. This is a first for the city of Edmonton, for the Edmonton Football Club. So I really would like to understand a little bit of the why behind it.
Eddie, we got a text in here from Reed Clark, says, hope you're ready to put up some fresh nets tomorrow.
Yeah, we're doing a little tour. We're going to get some of these double rims off of the nets, man. I hate the double rims. You know what I'm talking about, Connor?
Oh yeah. So
man,
Reed Clark,
you can't shoot for nothing on those. You got to be so pure on those hoops.
Reed Clark is Sport 17 doing great things with fresh nets around our city. Awesome stuff, Eddie. Appreciate you doing this today, and we're looking forward to hear you on tomorrow with Carius starting at 7 a.m.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon. Good finish to the show.
There you go. Eddie Steele, former member of the Edmonton Eskimos, Green and Gold alumni, Grey Cup champion, and you can hear him Monday and Friday on the Kevin Carius Show from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for those of you who are up early like that.
I thought about it while you guys were talking, Connor. You get a stadium when we're going to make a bid for a big international event.
Okay.
Because Edmonton always seems to be in the mix, right? And I think like World Cups and other events, they seem to be starting to almost do it as groups of cities, right? And that's the same for like the World Track and Field. Remember in 01 got the World Track and Field and all the infrastructure upgrades?
Yep.
The time isn't to do a new Elk Stadium now on private money. You have to wait until it's part of a bid for a larger event because the government kicks money out for that kind of stuff. That's how we got Commonwealth Stadium to begin with. It was part of the university ad games.
Like Calgary getting their new stuff.
And what games is that part of?
Just hockey games and football games.
But like the original Saddle Dome, that was part of the Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. They got a lot of infrastructure as a result of that. So don't buy your stadium soon. Wait. Maybe the World Track and Field 2041 comes to Edmonton.
But don't you think, like, in theory, the World Cup would have been perfect for that, and it didn't happen?
Well, there was all of North American cities competing, right?
That's the problem. We would only got, a couple games, and it would have all been at Commonwealth. If it was just Alberta or Edmonton, that would have been great. 30,000.
You think Edmonton would get the World Cup? You silly goose.
City of Champions.
That's true.
But imagine. I think, like you said, that was spread across all of North America. They would have just used Commonwealth, but
where you could put a new stadium, though, would be where Rexall Place is currently. Because you've got the subway infrastructure to have tens of thousands of people get quickly absorbed and whisked away. You've got enormous parking.
What if they pulled like a Senators or San Francisco 49ers and put the stadium 40 minutes outside of Edmonton?
I think this is a mistake. I would never disagree with Eddie Steele, but I don't think the stadium location is a big problem. The optics on TV, certainly, you're right, can look crappy.
I don't like the area of the stadium.
But you're never going to put a stadium in like the middle of the nicest part of town. This is a way that you can eat up a lot of acreage in maybe a more depressed area of town and try to rejuvenate it.
Can't wait.
Look at the wonders Rexall Place did to the surrounding area once the arena shut down. It was insane how quickly it all stopped.
Cam says fans don't care about the stadium. Some do. Big Al says new stadium in Strathcona Rail Yard. Bobby K says put the new stadium at the old racetrack. Also saying Jason Strudwick wants peanuts back. If Elkman can get peanuts allowed back at the stadium, maybe that's going to get a few thousand people in the seats.
Isn't the worry with peanuts at public events that like people are deathly allergic to the peanuts?
Yeah. Could happen.
Dang it.
Any stadium has to be near Clark Park with all the indoor pavilion and everything. Boys, yeah, that certainly is a luxury of having the stadium they have. And finally, Cliff says, put the new stadium by the old train station in Strathcona. There you go, Cam. Some fans do care about the stadium.
I wonder if Mr. Thompson will
everyone.
try to revive a soccer team.
That would be something.
Well, there is definitely a gap with FC Edmonton not playing currently.
Yeah, Canadian Premier League is seemingly growing, so maybe
soccer's on an upswing.
Maybe that's the next one after World Cup.
I'm sure he's got a plan.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
That's what we heard. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get to 5 questions with Declan Kruger, Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan, and Donovan Paulson with you here. It's the Jason Gregor Show, coming to you live from the EWL studios on Sports 1440. Also, Oilers Nation, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
You adore your Audi, value your Volkswagen, baby your Beamer. But some of that love fades when repairs take several days and tons of cash for the dealership to do their magic. Let Cochran's Automotive rekindle the flame. They'll professionally repair your import, usually in one day. Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Honda, and Toyota. Cochran's Automotive will return her to mint condition. Open at 7 a.m. Let Cochran's Automotive repair your automotive air conditioning before things heat up. Cochran's Automotive, 780-452-5001.
Get a great night's sleep during the final weekend of the Brick Summer Sleep event. Take up to 50% off mattresses and up to $1,200 off sleeper sectionals. And buy more, save more. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, shop amazing deals in other departments, like up to 20% off outdoor furniture and 25% off home entertainment furniture and fireplace. You won't want to sleep through these fantastic prices. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Bacon or sausage and Egg McMuffin? It's a delicious dilemma. But what if you didn't have to choose? The Mighty McMuffin is back with bacon and sausage. Mighty McMuffin, mighty impressive. For a limited time at participating McDonald's in Canada.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV. Anything that's exposed to the elements or has moving parts needs regular maintenance. And when you consider an RV, well, it falls into both categories. Lots of moving parts and sitting out all the time, which is why we hire the best RV technicians in Alberta to come work here at our new, bigger store in Leduc.
Noble has giant indoor service space that can hold the biggest RVs in the world.
That's right, Bob. The vast majority of our indoor space at No Bull is dedicated to service and repair. You spend the summer in the great outdoors, and we spend the winter doing scheduled maintenance, so you're ready to go next season.
Sounds like a year-round thing, Rick.
That's it exactly, Bob. Our techs are the most highly experienced men and women in the business. We're solving problems and creating solutions every day. Whatever your used RV needs, our service team has seen it before and knows exactly what to do.
And that's No Bull. NoBullRV.ca.
1, 2, 3.
Kruger with you here in the EWell studios here in West Edmonton Mall. Man, it must be getting towards the end of summer. I think we're getting a lot of families in the mall doing their back-to-school shopping. Got to look fresh for the first day of school. And a lot of looky-loos, is that what the term is?
Oh, yeah.
People just lingering. We're zoo animals in here.
Matt's Lindgren?
Matt's Lindgren, number 14 for the Edmonton Oilers.
Unbelievable. You're right.
It's my era. I used to love those teams. Why don't we get right into it? The Jason Gregor Show, brought to you by playalberta.ca. Go have some fun tonight, potentially. Use your game sense. Only 7 games in the majors, and like 4 of them are underway. So if you want to do some baseball betting, you got to get there quickly. Right now, it is time to get to 5 questions with Declan Kruger. Brought to you by The Brick. Are you tired of navigating a small space or a dorm room? You can check out The Brick's small kitchen appliances, organizers, and compact desks and office chairs to make the most of your compact space. Check it out at thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, gentlemen. Question number 1. Larry Thompson officially purchased the Edmonton Elks today, or announcement was made official today. Sources report he sold his construction company for $800 million. If you had $800 million, which sports team would you buy?
Do I have to buy it in full, or can I just buy like a share of it?
No, see, I thought about that. You're buying the whole wazoo.
That's going to block a lot of good teams out of your budget, unfortunately.
Yes. A lot of them are over $1 billion.
That's a 7D chess you're playing.
Well, you know what? I'm buying the San Diego Fleet, and I'm returning them to the XFL.
Good answer.
Expansion franchise, the Fleet will reign.
If I read the headline that says Connor Halley goes all in on bringing back the Fleet, I'm going to run as your friend to slap the money order out of your hand and say, no, I would like to buy the Moose Jaw Warriors.
Oh,
good answer.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
Not in a dream world either. It's actually on my list of things I want to get to.
You'll get there.
It takes a while. It's hard to buy a community-owned team. I respect what Mr. Thompson has done. All these decisions are made in private long before they're revealed to us plebes, and it is hard.
Will you hire me?
The Moose Jaw Warriors?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I want to coach. I want to
Okay.
coach.
I'll be GM.
GM?
Yeah.
Could you GM a dub team?
I could, yes. I'm confident I could. It might be a terrible team, but I could do it.
Interesting.
You know what I'd be doing, though? You wouldn't want to hire me because I would be trading away the future to build one good team to hope that an NHL team was like, this guy's got it.
How popular could you take a team like Moose Jaw and make content about them morning, noon, and night? A show about being a Moose Jaw Warrior, stream all their games online, like really go over the top and try and make it a place of note. I think it'd be a really interesting thing because Moose Jaw is never going to get any bigger.
Yeah.
Right. So it's got a finite amount of people who will come to Moose Jaw and purchase tickets.
Imagine you buy Moose Jaw, the Moose Jaw Warriors, and then the Metro Pop just shoots to like 1 million.
Dang.
And you're just laughing.
Silicon Valley of Canada.
Oh, man. Moose Jaw Warriors are a good team, man, to be an honor.
Yeah.
I'm buying the Indiana Fever, by the way. All the eggs in the Caitlin Clark basket. Question number 2. On a more serious note, if you were Larry Thompson, what would your number 1 priority be as the new owner of the Elks?
Number 1 priority, we've talked about it. Make the game day experience more enjoyable. Get people back in seats. And there's things that are going to take time. Winning football games, you hope you have the right people in place to do so, but get people back in the stadium. Make it a place to be. Riverhawks games were that way. Stingers games were that way. Make it, something people want to do in this city and get back into the stadium and to watch these games live.
I think the number 1 goal should be to win the hearts and minds of young Edmontonians. Because if you start working on getting kids in the stadium now on a non-football basis, you're making fans 10 years out.
Question number 3. Since we had our college football guest on earlier, no, that's not the question. Which 2 teams will meet in the national championship game this year?
I defer to my colleague.
Like it seems like such a cop-out to go with the top 2 teams because I don't know how often it actually works that way. You lose one game and then we're always questioning how good you actually are.
I love it. I love when they lose one game and I get to call them frauds.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
They lose at 1 point because their kicker missed it and Declan's all over them. I'm going to say Longhorns. UT is back. Here's even a wild card picture. Hey, did you do horns down?
I did. Right in the camera.
That's not allowed. That's a penalty. Arch Manning leading them to get there. Quinn Ewers hurt.
Okay.
And roll tide, baby. Alabama.
Wow.
All right.
I know you hate that, Declan.
Wanye, do you want to just throw out 2 schools or states? Or
Well, I
anything
know
like
that Alabama's good, but I don't know whether or not it's crazy to say that they're going to win the national championship. I don't want to embarrass myself.
They always linger.
They're all, yeah, they do linger.
Who do you like?
I don't think they'll be there. I have Georgia and Oregon, and I have Oregon winning it. Question number 4.
Without Bo Nix?
Oh, they got Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about Dry's contract and our expectations for it, but is there a contract that could come out for Dry, both in terms of money and years, that would absolutely shock you? And obviously, I'm semi-realistic, like a 1-year, $1 million contract. Yes, that would be shocking, but that's not happening. Like, is there something that comes out, like if it's, like what a 5-year, $15 million a year, like something that you would really be like, really, that's the contract? Like, what would the contract have to look like for you?
So to be clear here, you don't think Leon's signing for $1 million a year?
If I was him, I would, because I'm a giver, and I'd want to give back to the fan base and the community. But look, he's a selfish guy. He wants his money.
You're a dang fool talking like that. I think he's going to sign for $13.5 million on an 8-year deal. That's what I think.
Okay, but what would shock you?
$13.49 million on an 8-year deal. 1 penny less, Leon. You earned every cent. Get your bag.
Yeah, I would say under 13 million would surprise me. I think this is an opportunity for him to cash in. And then in terms of term, I really don't know which way it's going to go, because I could see him, opting to go for a shorter term deal. But I will say if it's less than 5 years, I think it might surprise me. Because there is an opportunity to sign a 4-year deal, but I think he wants to get locked in.
Okay. All right. Sure. I will say, like, if he signed like a 2-year, $15 million a year contract, that would shock me.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 5. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. We teased it for this 5 questions today. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of fictional athletes?
So good.
Wanye, who do you got here?
Probably like Air Bud, golden receiver. Rudy.
For sure.
Rudy's dope.
Rudy was real, but okay.
Well, I like the guy from Lord of the Rings version of Rudy. I'm sure in real life it wasn't quite as cinematic. The Rudy in the movie, I would consider him to be like a fictionalized version of the real. Was his name Rudy Rudiger?
Yep.
Other fictional athletes I like would include Flex, the Oilers dog from 3 years ago that hasn't been seen since. Where are you, Flex? And Reed Schaefer is on my Mount Rushmore of fictional athletes.
It's a good pick.
This is a tough one. There's so many good ones to choose from. I'll take Rod Tidwell from Jerry Maguire.
Good pick.
I'm going to take Bobby Boucher from The Waterboy.
Good pick.
Mighty Ducks is one of my favorite movies, and I don't know who I'd pick. Like Adam Banks, good player, a little injury prone.
One of those Iceland kids in that team is all the
Gunnar
black.
Stahl. I don't know, but I'm going to go Goldberg. Comedic relief and, shut the door when he had to. And then my final pick. This will be a tribute to my friend Jason Strudwick. Jimmy Chitwood.
Oh, from Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
What?
pick.
What's that?
Basketball movie.
You haven't seen
from the
Hoosiers?
80s. Yeah, you haven't seen Hoosiers?
What? You haven't seen The Matrix?
Yeah, good point.
How do you know?
What? Because
No.
I've been here for 3 weeks.
I think I saw it back in the day.
I thought you said you hadn't seen The Matrix. I heard that on this show.
I've seen clips of it. For all intents and purposes, no, I haven't seen it.
Don't tell me I need to watch Hoosiers, a movie about basketball from 40 years ago, and then skip over The Matrix.
Declan?
I would take Rocky Balboa.
Good pick.
I'm taking Pablo Sanchez from Backyard Baseball, the video game.
Oh, I didn't even think of video games.
Now, how can you like a guy in a video game that much?
Oh, he was OP, bro. Like, this kid was crazy. My goodness. I'm taking Jesus Shuttleworth, Ray Allen from He's Got Game.
Yeah.
And I'm taking Jimmy Chitwood as well. 100%.
Okay, you can have Jimmy Chitwood.
Okay.
Yesterday we had Benny the Jet.
Oh,
come
from
in,
Sandlot.
From Sandlot, and that was a good one. Did you see the movie The Big Green?
Was that the kids movie about the soccer
The
team?
soccer one? Juan Morales.
I'm changing. Instead of Jimmy Chitwood, I'm taking those 2 Italian brothers from Kicking and Screaming. Package deal. Yeah, that's a good Rushmore.
Can I take Lil Bow Wow in Like Mike, but you're claiming that that's not a real person, so I don't know. Now, Declan, your rules. Lil Bow Wow's great in that basketball.
That's an
movie.
excellent pick.
And he raps, but he's really Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
And the kid from Jerry Maguire.
Did he play sport?
No, he was just the friend at the orphanage, I think.
Right.
Like Mike.
in like Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in real life. In real life, I think he was loaded. Calvin Cambridge was the character for Like Mike. That had great cameos as well.
Yeah.
Good soundtrack. Good pick. We're going to get a lot of good ones coming in here. Rocky Balboa is getting a lot of love. We had someone say Jackie Robinson. I think that's his name. Well, Jackie Robinson is in the movie 42. I don't know if that was a joke or not. But
he's a real guy.
He's a real guy. That was a true story. Robert says, how about Happy Gilmore? We've got Roy Hobbs from The Natural.
Both good picks.
It's some good ones coming in here. Keep those coming in. 1-833-401-1440. Your fictional characters, Mount Rushmore. We're talking sports.
I like Bagger Vance. Remember that
Legend.
movie? That was a great movie, though.
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit.
Well, if we're just talking like sports movies characters, it'd be good too.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, not fictional.
Yeah. If we're just going like characters based or in sports movies.
Listen, if you're doing the Mount Rushmore of steroids, he might be on there. But
well, he had no choice.
Just three different syringes up there and then a pill form.
Unless he like looked at his owner and was like, give me that. But I don't think that happens with horses. Jackie Moon. That's a good one.
Oh, Kenny Powers. Good
Kenny
answer.
Powers,
That's a good one.
answer.
Rod Kimball, stuntman extraordinaire, Hot Rod.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Keanu in The Replacements.
No.
Homer Simpson on the power plant baseball team, The Isotopes. Softball. Wonder Bat, was that his bat? That was made by
That's right.
The tree that was struck by lightning. Reg Dunlop and the Hanson brothers. No name on that one. Good ones coming in here. Good question there, Declan. Let's take a break.
It was your question, so you did the same thing I did the other
Good job.
day.
Great job.
Great job on that one. Actually, someone sent it in yesterday, and we just were like, that was very good. Ricky Bobby's from Double D. Another one with no name, Hanson Brothers. Oh, sorry, that's Bobby. Yeah, Hanson Brothers are a classic one. Good Mount Rushmore. Maybe we got to keep it going again tomorrow, Declan. I'll give you a topic, and then I'll say great question again.
Do you guys have any preliminary topics you want to get going for tomorrow? Start the
Another Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, it's Mount Rushmore season officially now. We've done it 2 days in a row. We got to do it 3.
Mount Rushmore season, of course.
And we'll have Brownie in tomorrow as well, I believe. So we'll have a nice little foursome to do it.
That's too much star power. Holy cow.
Let's do the Mount Rushmore of Oilers underdogs.
So like as a team or as a player?
Players. So just who were the Oilers that you loved that no one loved? A friend of ours, Rick, friend of the show on our pod, posted the other day all his Oiler jerseys of players who've been traded.
Yeah.
It's wild that he'll go out and get role player jerseys all the time, knowing that they have a short shelf life, but that's the kind of players Rick likes. So who's on your Mount Rushmore of Oilers underdogs?
Well, it wouldn't be Brownie because we know he's Silver Spoon Brownie.
Really?
Well, that's what Struddy tells me. First round pick.
Silver
He's
Spoon.
not an underdog. Todd the Sign Guy says, come on, Doug. Oh, sorry, Dean Youngblood. Jackie Moon. Mike's just says the program. Latimer. Okay.
That was a good movie.
Underdogs. Someone says Ryan Jones. Oh, well, maybe we'll have
There
to
you
do that
go.
one.
See, it's already coming in.
It's already picking up the big Mo. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we got Speck, and we're also going to be joined by Arif Hassan to talk about the Minnesota Vikings as we continue our tour around the NFL. And we have a special edition of Cam Tate's 2-minute warning. He wanted to send one in, so we'll get to that at about 5:40 as well. It is the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get to an update brought to you by Booster Juice. You can try the cookies and cream booster ball, the little yummy little bundle of almond butter, maple syrup, coconut, and gluten-free cookies. Download the Boosters Reward app and order one today only at Booster Juice. Here is Declan Kruger.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
A new chapter opening in the history of the Edmonton Football Club as Larry Thompson has officially been announced as the new owner of the club. Thompson, a lifelong fan of the Double E, becomes the first private owner in club history. The Green and Gold had been community-owned since the club's founding in 1949, and with the purchase, there are only 2 community-owned teams left in the league. WNBA action that gets going a little later on. It's the Mercury and Sky and the Mystics and Lynx, both at 6. Then at 7, the Liberty in town to take on the Cameron Brinkless Sparks. MLB scores from earlier today. Couple finals for you. It was the Giants over the Braves 6-0, Brewers over the Dodgers 6-4, Tigers over the Mariners 2-1, and the Athletics over the Mets 7-6. 2 games in action right now. Red Sox and Orioles tied in the bottom of the second. Phillies leading the Nats 4-0 in the top of the second. 1 game later today, getting its first pitch thrown in about an hour's time, we'll see the Twins and Rangers out in Texas. And in the NFL, Justin Simmons has signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons, pairing him with fellow former Pro Bowler Jesse Bates in the safety corps. In hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we're going to be joined by Mark Spector for the Spec Report and Arif Hassan to talk some Minnesota Vikings. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Hey, it's Brad McCory here from St. Albert Dodge. I'm here to say you do not want to miss our final clear out of classic Ram 1500 trucks. It really is your last chance to drive a brand new Ram truck off the lot with 25% off. When these are gone, they're gone. Or how about a Jeep Wrangler with up to $7,500 in savings and 0% financing on every model? Come see how we earn our industry-leading 4.6 Google review rating. You're going to love how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with
Welcome back to the Jason Gregor
and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk, elevate your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Hey, Leduc, it's me, Grant Fedork from Leading Edge Physiotherapy. What you might not know is that I started practicing physiotherapy.
Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show.
Years ago. In those years since, I haven't forgotten the kind and welcoming people that trusted me then. It feels great to be back, but I know we have to live up to our promise, and that's to live up to our name. This means bringing a leading edge focus on our environments, technology, communities, and the people who will care for you, like Graham Raymond and Amanda McIsaac, 2 locals who want to make a difference in your life. We're now open in Leduc. Learn more about us at leadingedgephysio.com.
Honk your horn for Papa John's newest deal. It's one big deal for one big pizza. An extra large New York style 1-topping pizza for only $17.99. Papa John's original fresh, never frozen dough. Hand stretched thinner to make 8 extra large slices with your favorite mouth-watering toppings. So hold and fold that slice like a New Yorker. Bigger is better when it comes to pizza. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get some extra large New York style 1-topping pizza for only $17.99 at Papa John's.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And nothing moves Albertans better than Canada's best-selling truck, the Ford F-150. Here now with rates as low as 0% or savings up to $17,000. That's the value you've come to expect from where cars always cost less. 0% or $17,000 off F-150s. Only at Denham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
Cars cost less in Wetaskiwin.
PlayAlberta.ca. And tomorrow, of course, you got the Lotto Max going on once again. So plenty of things going on over at PlayAlberta.ca sports betting. Of course, make sure to use your game sense and stay within your limits. We're coming to you live from the eWell studio, where the real power plays to shop at ewell.ca for all your electrical products. Open 24/7, of course, being on the line. ewell.ca is your partner in power. Right now, we're going to be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet in the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. They are hiring and looking for laborers, pipe layers, pipe layer helpers, top men and women, lead hands, and water and sewer foremen. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. Mark Spector joins us. Spec, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Great, Connor. What's going on, man? How you guys keeping in there?
You know, it's been a good day. Obviously, some optimism around the Edmonton Elks and the organization going forward, with Larry Thompson announced as the new owner officially. I'm sure you caught parts of the press conference, if not the whole thing. Is there anything that stood out to you in hearing Larry Thompson and company speak?
Very understated guy, right? Very much an Edmontonian, an old construction guy, an Eskimos fan since he was 12 years old. He's been in the seats forever. He obviously has a deep appreciation for the organization and for what it means to the city. We'll see what kind of owner Larry Thompson turns into, but you can't find a guy with deeper roots and who knows what he's buying, I would think, more than this guy. That's how it struck me, guys. He seemed like a genuine, long-time Edmontonian who's doing something because he cares about it.
Now, we asked the question, we asked it to all of our listeners, got a lot of text into the eWell inbox, just outside of the on-field product. What can this team do to get people back into the seats? We know winning is the big thing, but if there's anything you would recommend, how do we start to get people back into Commonwealth and make this a marquee event like it used to be?
Well, I think then if it's not, everything's second to winning, everything. But it has to be some game presentation. It has to be fixing some concession issues that have been going on at Commonwealth for a long time. I know there are people that'll tell you Commonwealth isn't a good enough stadium anymore, and I have a hard time believing, as a guy that spent a lot of beautiful evenings in there watching football in an awfully nice setting. I think they need to, shore up that stadium to a certain degree, right? There's issues with concessions, with lineups. I believe that the even the food they're putting in the concessions has taken a step back. They got to modernize their game production all the way from what they're serving the fans for food to what's going on at halftime, to the whole thing. I think the fact that organization hasn't had any money to spare the last couple of years, it's really shown itself on game day. They got to look like a more professional team, and that costs a little bit of money.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, in that case, good to have a new owner, someone at the top that can confront that. And we're hoping for it, Spec. It's been a long time since, that's really been a marquee event in town. And hopefully we get back there soon. Now, of course, the team is in action. 2-7 on the season. They'll take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, another 2-7 team on Saturday. It's a 5:00 kickoff. This team looks like they'll be without Trey Ford. What do you expect out of this group? I mean, there's got to be a little more confidence on the defensive side of the ball. They found a way to run the football. Do you think this momentum can carry over despite the change at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, they've won 2 in a row, so they've really, 1 in a row can be a little bit of a fluke. 2 in a row, they won on the road, they won at home. They got something to believe in here. They got something to, dig their claws into, so that's good. Bethel Thompson, it's time to win football games here, right? He's, he came in here as a starter this year, went 0-7. Did a nice job the other day in Edmonton against the BC Lions and saved that game for the Elks. So I think it's I'm starting to look at number 10 and say, hey, get out there, win a football game. Don't let us be talking on Monday morning about, oh boy, they sure did miss Trey Ford, right? That would be the number one mandate for Bethel Thompson, is don't have us talking about Ford, have us talking about him. I think they've got some tools. The running game's been good. The receiving core is turning out to be pretty deep. And, I would say with that, Bethel Thompson just has to take the controls. The defense has been good. I'm not loving special teams yet, but they're not hurting them. They're just not helping them a lot in my eyes. So I think there's enough football team there that if the guy at the controls can push it over the goal line the way he did against BC, they can win in Hamilton. Why not?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, Tiger Cats going through some issues of their own, so an opportunity for the Elks to improve to 3-7 on the season this Saturday. Mark Spector joining us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz sitting in for the vacationing Jason. We'll be back in a couple weeks here. Turning our attention to the NHL, we saw some PTOs with Verana going to the Capitals, and then a former first rounder in Logan Brown with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's keep it local here. With the Edmonton Oilers, do you see them putting out some PTOs this year? And if so, what type of player / position do you think would be the area of focus for that?
Well, that's a good question. It's going to depend on what happens here with these two offer sheets. For one, I could see if there's a right shot defenseman kicking around that hasn't got a place yet, they may come in on a PTO. But I guess I'd also say to you, this isn't the kind of team that, if I'm that free agent, I'm not so sure that this is the team I'm picking to try to make. I'm not saying the Oilers are the best team in the world and all that, but there's a lot better places to try to get a job than there is in Edmonton. You know what I'm saying? So sure, could they grab a guy in a PTO? Maybe, like I say, like that right shot defenseman that we're talking about. Sure, they could. Is this the destination that a guy like Justin Schultz or Tyson Barrie or Kevin Shattenkirk's going to want to come to and think he can make this team? That part I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, no, 100%. It'd definitely be a kind of a waiting game to see what happens before Tuesday and those two offer sheets and what the decision is on that one. Spec, I don't know if we've ever asked you this, or I know I haven't. Are you an NFL fan? And if so, is there a team you kind of focus your attention on?
Yeah, I'm a very passive NFL fan by design. I don't do fantasy. I repeat, I don't do fantasy. And I've got, I grew up a Tampa Bay Bucks fan when they were back in the what do they call them? The creamsicle uniforms.
Oh yeah.
Always loved the Steelers just because they're the Steelers. Don't mind watching the Cowboys play because they're always got something going on. So I do enjoy the NFL. I watch a whole lot of it. Don't ask me about the left starting tackle for the Arizona Cardinals because I purposely don't clog my brain up with that stuff. So that's where I am. I never miss a Super Bowl, and I love the playoffs. And every Sunday, I get DAZN just because of NFL, but I do not dig too deep into the minutia the way I know you guys do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll stay away from the offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. We'll leave that to another show and segment. Now, being on the road when you have, anytime you've had any like free opportunities, a chance to check out an NFL game with schedules overlapping?
Yeah, I've been to the odd one. Not as many as some guys. Some guys will really go out of their way. I'm not going to lie to you. If I have a free, first of all, every day I'm on the road, I got to write.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not like, for instance, there's a lot of guys who, if they get a Sunday off on the road, they got nothing to do but find a football game. That's generally not me. So I haven't been to many, but I've been to a few. And to be honest with you, if there's a Sunday on the road where I'm not taking a plane or writing a piece or going to a practice or going to a hockey game, if I got a whole Sunday on the road, I'm probably not going to mess it up by going out to a football game. I'm going to sit back and watch about 10 football games in my hotel room, to be honest.
I like it. Before we let you go here, Declan Kruger bringing the heat on 5 questions. We asked you your Mount Rushmore yesterday of athletes. Today, he threw a little wrinkle in that question. Fictional athletes. We're talking movies, TV shows. If you were giving us your top 4 fictional athletes, who do you have on the list?
Well, it would have to probably start with Rudy.
Okay, good one.
I think would be my first guy. I know he's not a fictional athlete, but we're counting.
He's from a movie. Yeah, a character.
Can I just say, Spec, I said Rudy too, and Declan said to me, Wanye, you fool, he's not a real person. And I said, well, I don't think the guy from Lord of the Rings really played football in that movie.
But there was a real Rudy, right?
Mm-hmm. Rudy Rudiger.
There was a real guy, but for the intent of this poll, he becomes fictional.
Agreed.
So I'm going with Rudy. I'm going with, I would think we probably should boil the Hanson brothers down into one guy. They take up the whole Mount Rushmore if you put them all up there.
True. Oh, yeah, that counts.
Yeah, I got to think so. Well, how about Rocky? Rocky's got to be one, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people texting in with Rocky Balboa.
Okay, Rocky Balboa is one. And, geez, so how many do I need? Do I need 4?
You need one more, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with, what was his name? Hold on now. What was Fred Flintstone's name when he was on the when he was driving home on the track like a guy who was driving home on the freeway. You guys are too young for this. Ask our texters. Who was that? Who was Fred Flintstone when he was a race car driver? What was his name again?
We'll put it out there.
You guys are too
Someone will
young
know.
for this.
Someone will know.
I know. I forget his name. That's my
And the
fourth guy.
Indian Rockalist 500, I believe, was the event. Indian
That's the
Rockalist
one.
500.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We got to scroll through here to find out what his nickname was. I mean, I did watch Flintstones, but I don't have the recollection of all of these, exact
I should
episodes.
know that. That's right. That's right in my wheelhouse. I should know that, but I've forgotten.
It's off-season mode, Spec. We forgive you.
I know. my brain's not that sharp. I'm a little bit in off-season mode. That's for sure.
Goggles Pisano.
Goggles Paisano. That's my fourth guy. Goggles Paisano.
All right. That is a good answer. Deep cut. Spec, thanks for doing this today. We appreciate that. And now we're going to have a bunch of people texting in Goggles Paisano. Oh, yeah. Now the texts are rolling in here. A lot of people knew that one.
One of the great nicknames in all time right there.
That's fantastic. Spec, thanks for doing this. Have a great night.
Oh, hey, boys.
See you tomorrow, Spec.
There you go. Mark Spector in the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. They are hiring. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. Of course, Spec covers the Oilers and many other things for Rogers Sportsnet. Goggles Paisano. Sick name.
I never really got to see a lot of Flintstones. I never got to go home for lunch at school. And I feel like the kids who went home at lunch, they'd all come back being like, boy, the Flintstones, they sure are something. And I'd say, I don't know. I sat in the cafeteria while you went home.
With the lunch ladies.
Flintstone free.
Were you a Jetsons guy?
Yes, a little bit
Jetsons,
more. Yeah.
Lance says Lola, Bunny, Benny the Jet, or Rodriguez, Goldberg the goalie, and Speed Racer. Vaughn says, if we can take Rudy, I would take Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull, Robert De Niro. That's a movie I got to go.
Is that a real guy, though?
Jake LaMotta? You don't know about his battles with Sugar Ray Robinson, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre?
Did you grow up in Portland or Baltimore in the 1970s? How do you know all this?
I love boxing. I make a concerted effort to go out and research these guys. But that aside, Raging Bull, one of the best sports movies of all time. Everyone should see it.
I've seen that one. Got to give it another go. I watched it when I was young. Probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should. And I just want to say thank you to Jim, Corey, Todd, Marty, Kevin, Wizard Bob Lake, Colin, Kevin, Team Dean, Greg, Oliver, for all saying Goggles Paisano.
Good gosh.
A lot of people knew it.
No kidding.
And Robert says Hulk Hogan.
That's a real guy. He's not fictional.
He was a character in Rocky 2, 3. Do you remember that? Did you not see that one?
Are you ready for this? I haven't seen any Rockies.
Ooh.
None.
Oh dear.
Not a single one.
Thunderlips was his name.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Rocky the one who fights Ivan Drago?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Does it for his boy.
What do you mean?
That might be one of the best.
He avenges his buddy?
Yeah. Drago, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, kills Apollo Creed.
Oh, boy.
And Rocky's like, I got to get back in the ring. And then he works out in the wilderness with that song, There's No Easy Way Out.
There is no easy way out.
Such a good montage.
Kidding.
Sean says, how about Happy Gilmore? Another good one.
What I do know about Rocky that's crazy is that Sylvester Stallone wrote them all. You got to give a guy credit. Like I saw, have you seen the biography of Sylvester Stallone?
I have not.
It's really quite well done. I didn't realize he was simultaneously a screenwriter and an up and coming actor. And they bought the rights to Rocky off or made an offer off of him, but he wasn't going to get to star in it. And they're like, you wrote a screenplay, but you're not a star. And he bet on himself, Connor.
That's what you got to do in life.
Really?
You always got to bet on yourself. You got a card here coming in. Hello. I don't know what that was about. Someone came into the glass window with a card. I love he didn't leave it though.
Like a sports card?
Like his business card, I think. But didn't drop it off. I think he was trying to get it on camera. But it was not the proper angles. I just got to say also, I got to give a shout out to Coach Herman, Gary Bertier, Alan, a little bit of a liability at corner, Ryan Gosling, Julius Campbell. We're talking Remember the Titans.
What on earth? No.
That whole movie could be...
Ryan Gosling's in a movie about football?
Yeah, Remember the Titans. Great movie. One of the best. Coach Yost. Unbelievable. But based off a true story, so maybe it doesn't count. I don't know.
Well, if Declan's in charge.
We're in the gray area with that one. We better take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk some football. Arif Hassan's going to join us. We're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Is he okay? Vikings fans, are you okay? Everyone's out of the lineup. Everyone's hurt. But maybe it's not so bad. Maybe the depth is okay. We're going to find out next on the Jason Gregor Show. You're watching on Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, also on X. If you're on Instagram, we're on Sports 1440. And if you're listening to the radio, it's Sports 1440 AM. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back. It is the Jason Gregor Show, brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca.
The summer road lays ahead. Your potential destinations are endless. Volvo Cars Edmonton gives you choice to match. Right now, lease a 2024 Volvo XC90 from 0% for qualifying loyal customers. Or save $7,000 on all new 2024 XC60 recharge plug-in hybrid models. All demo vehicles come with a free 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. No matter what you decide this summer will become, your first choice is Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Rule number 41, never challenge a goose in the Bow Valley. They run this town and they know it. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instants, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days, because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is your supplier of maximum comfort, bringing you the cool AC you need. You just have to
call Legacy. Call Legacy.
For comfort at night when the hot air suffocates you.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
For comfort in your wallet with no payments or interest for 1 year.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
You deserve comfort. Cool off today with AC from Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Get a great night's sleep during the final weekend of the Brick Summer Sleep Event. Take up to 50% off mattresses, up to $1,200 off sleeper sectionals, and buy more, save more, up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, shop amazing deals in other departments, like up to 20% off outdoor furniture and up to 25% off home entertainment furniture and fireplaces. You won't want to sleep through these fantastic prices. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
You wanted local sports on weekends. Saturday mornings at 9, check out the Saturday Sports Setup, where we'll tee up what's happening on the weekend sports scene. Tune in Saturday morning at 9 on Sports 1440.
Honk your home for Papa John's newest deal. It's one big deal for one big pizza. An extra large New York style one topping pizza for only $17.99. Papa John's original fresh, never frozen dough. Hand stretched thinner to make 8 extra large slices with your favorite mouth-watering toppings. So hold and fold that slice like a New Yorker. Bigger is better when it comes to pizza. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get some extra large New York style one topping pizza for only $17.99 at Papa John's.
Bacon or sausage and egg McMuffin? It's a delicious dilemma. But what if you didn't have to choose? The Mighty McMuffin is back with bacon and sausage. Mighty McMuffin, mighty impressive. For a limited time at participating McDonald's in Canada.
Midnight tomorrow is the VIP prize deadline in the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation Mighty Millions Lottery. Take charge of the open road with the Porsche Cayman VIP prize or choose $100,000 cash. Plus, be in to win the $2.5 million grand prize, Oilers season seats bonus prize, and so much more. Hurry, VIP deadline is midnight tomorrow. Be mighty and support Stollery Kids. Buy now at MightyMillionsLottery.com.
Coming to you live from the Ewell Studios in West Edmonton Mall. The show brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get right into it. We're continuing our tour around the NFL training camps and the Minnesota Vikings. My goodness. So a lot of injuries coming up right now. So we're going to check in with Arif Hassan, covers the team with Wide Left Football. Arif, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, doing very good. Thank you for coming on the show today. We do appreciate it. I guess if I had to ask you to kind of take the pulse of Minnesota Vikings Nation right now, how is everyone doing with all these injuries that continue to pile up? And I mean, to a certain extent, it feels like this is just almost an annual event for the Vikings with these heartbreaking injuries.
I mean, it really does. Reading kind of what fans are saying, talking to them, maybe depressing is too strong of a word. It's disheartening for sure. But like you said, they've been through this, and we know that the Minnesota Vikings quarterbacks that they've invested a lot of hope and emotional currency into have experienced far worse injuries. People like Teddy Bridgewater, people like Sam Bradford, and so this doesn't feel like that. We know that the type of injury that JJ McCarthy suffered will allow him to come back with virtually no loss in performance next year. The Vikings made a decision to elect for a surgery that will preserve his long-term health, but prevent him from coming back sooner. So, maybe if there was kind of hope about this year, which was not really the goal, that's kind of, that light is dimmed a little bit. But, for the most part, it's disheartening, but it's certainly not on the level of some of the other injuries that they've experienced over the years.
Can we look at it as maybe, and it's just trying to find a good spot from such a tough injury for JJ McCarthy, but in this situation, he's not going to be out there on the field. There's no pressure for him to get out there. It's going to be, I guess, rehab and just, continue to learn from Sam Darnold and the coaching staff, learn the offense about as good as you can, and try to just maybe spin it into a positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, at the end of the day, you do like a very cold calculating cost benefits analysis. This is like very clearly a negative, but there are a lot of, opportunities to take advantage of here. And I think that lack of pressure, the fact that the coaches won't feel the need to kind of turn to him. I know that they've made a lot of commitments to, say that, he's going to be on the bench for as long as possible so we can develop him, make sure that if we're going to remap his mechanics that they stick, make sure that, he's up to the speed of the game, all of those things. And they can say that. A lot of coaches say that in August, in May, whatever. And then, come the season, you've lost a couple of games, your contract isn't extended. You gotta make a play. And so now they're insulated from that. Like, I trust the coaching staff was being genuine when they were saying that, but there's one thing to say it in the offseason, another say it when the bullets are flying. So for sure, that's going to be it. But also, like you said, while the rehab process can be pretty intensive, there's just going to be a lot of gaps in time for McCarthy. And in those gaps in time, he'll have an opportunity to focus a lot on the mental game. Again, this is a net negative, but I think that when you find what those opportunities are and maximize them, you can gain advantages that you didn't think that you'd be able to gain. And I think that might be what happens here when it comes to advancing kind of the mental side of the game, both emotionally, handling setbacks, but also, of course, X's and O's and figuring out timing and looking what defenses look like, breaking down film, seeing the differences between what the NFL and college game is like, stuff like that.
Couple other injuries to get to quickly here. TJ Hawkinson, going back to last year, torn ACL and MCL. That was towards the end of the season. And then Jordan Addison, looks like an ankle injury, but he might have escaped anything serious. Do you have an update on both of those players?
Yeah, so it seems like Hawkinson is a little bit ahead of schedule. Again, he'll be on the PUP list, and so we're not going to see him for the first couple of games of the season, but it sounds like, what initially had been maybe a week 8, week 9 soft, target date might be something closer to, a week 5, which, every game matters, especially now that, you've lost a little bit of your margins there. Like you said, with Jordan Addison, they escaped a major injury issue. It was pretty alarming because he not only got rolled up on by a Cleveland defender, they took him off with a cart and he returned with a cast. And, that raises, I think, a lot of alarm bells from the outside looking in. But, very much seems like, he's week to week. They seemingly expected, they didn't say it, but they seemingly expect him to be ready for week 1. A word of caution, this coaching staff gives us a lot of optimism, and it doesn't always play out. Actually, Jalen Naylor last year was considered week to week, and he wasn't even activated until partway through the season. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But all of the indications that we're getting are that Addison's injury is relatively minor despite how serious it looked.
Now, how are we feeling about starting quarterback Sam Darnold going into the season? Obviously, a lot of hype when he was coming out of USC, and it might have tapered off just a little bit. But what are we expecting from Sam Darnold playing in this Kevin O'Connell offense?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty optimistic when they signed him. I thought it was a pretty good signing, but I know that a lot of people kind of familiar with what he did with the Jets were a lot less optimistic. Like, what kind of bridge quarterback is this? Look what he did with the Jets. But you take a look at what he did with the Panthers, what he did with the 49ers, and I thought that there was a lot of growth there and a lot of the natural talent that made him such an appealing prospect at USC really, showcased itself on the field. And so what little that we saw in the preseason, I thought was tremendously positive. I know that he was only 4 for 8, but he did experience a drop and then another, pass defense that really should have been caught by the receiver. And despite a 50% completion rate, he still averaged, like over 10 yards an attempt or something along those lines. He was doing a really great job of pushing the ball downfield. And it's not just the results of his play, it's also kind of the process. So, his pocket manipulation was better than it was in New York. Still an issue. I think it's always going to be an issue, but he did manage pressure a little bit better. But his touch, his arm strength, his ability to kind of read these defenses really quickly, I was really impressed with all of them, including one of the deep shots that he had to Jalen Naylor over the middle of the field, arcing right over a leaping linebacker, just a perfect ball. So, that kind of stuff has been showing up in camp. Been showing up with the preseason. I think there is reason to be optimistic. I'm not going to confuse him for a top 5 quarterback or anything like that, but certainly I think he's better than his reputation.
Arif Hassan joining us from Wide Left Football. We're talking Minnesota Vikings. Now on the defensive side of the ball, a few nice acquisitions over the offseason, bringing in Dallas Turner. I really like that move in the draft. And then you get Jonathan Greenard from the Houston Texans. 2 very good moves. I'm a Chargers fan, so I don't love the Jerry Tillery signing. I feel like he's going to cost him a game here or there. But what do you make of this defense going into next season?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they were pretty aggressive about, roster turnover. Some of it, was happenstance, like you just kind of have to replace Daniel Hunter, but Jonathan Greenard is not a bad, example of the kind of player that you bring in to replace him. Like you said, bringing in Andrew Van Ginkel, drafting Dallas Turner, all of those are great. I share your skepticism of Jerry Tillery, but what the really good news is that a lot of these kind of second and third string defensive tackles or interior defenders have looked really good in camp and in the preseason. And so we might not see Tillery on the field all that much, which I think a lot of people would consider to be pretty good news. Jonathan Bullard, for example, has been really excellent. So a lot of good stuff up front. Unfortunately, not quite as good on the back end. We're all familiar with the fact that Kyrie Jackson passed away, which is really unfortunate, of course. But, there have been other problems that have impacted the depth as well. So Mekhi Blackman, for example, has an ACL tear. He's out for the season. And now, the Vikings are kind of shuffling some players around. They signed a couple of players. They swapped cornerbacks with the Dallas Cowboys, Nashawn Wright. Getting him in after trading away Andrew Booth. But none of these are really solutions. They're more kind of bolstering depth to make, if there's a problem, it's not going to get that much worse, is really the way that I view these signings. They brought in Stephon Gilmore for a workout. He left without signing a deal, but that did happen with Dalton Reisner last year, and they still were able to sign him. So that's still an option that's on the table for him, but I don't like how Byron Murphy looked against the Raiders. Jacoby Myers is a good receiver, but if Byron Murphy is your top corner and he's getting burned by Jacoby Myers, I think that there's a lot of problems for you. So, there's a lot of work to be done on that back end. I really love that safety group, but cornerback is such an important position in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the safety group, it's been good. Harrison Smith, this guy just seems like he's ageless. Like, he just continues to play at a high level. A very impressive player. I want to ask you also, before we let you go here, because it's coming into our inbox here, our text line, people asking, should we be concerned about drafting Justin Jefferson in fantasy this season with the quarterback play? What do you think about that one? I would say he's so good, he's still going to make plays, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you mean by concerned. If you're third overall, and you're choosing between Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill, I take Tyreek. But that's about it. I think that's kind of the level of decision that we're looking at here. Maybe you take CeeDee Lamb over him. I wouldn't, but I'd understand why. So I don't think that Jefferson's going to hit 1,800 yards like he did, 2 years ago, or that he was on pace for this year. But that's kind of hard to do at receiver. I think that he'll exceed his floor of 1,400 yards, which he hit his rookie year, because receivers of this level of talent will attract and create yards almost regardless of the level of talent that they have at quarterback. I mean, we've seen this you're a Chargers fan, you've seen this with Keenan Allen. Mm-hmm. We saw this with Larry Fitzgerald in Arizona. If you're that good, you'll get your yards. And that's who Justin Jefferson is. He's that good. He's going to get his yards. And I think a floor of 1,400 is fine. It's really the ceiling that you're trying to figure out and manage, or maybe that touchdown number that you're trying to figure out and manage. So yeah, he'll break a couple of ties. Say Tyreek Hill is probably going to be more productive this year. But I don't think that, this is one where you're going to be able to grab him at the 8th pick or anything like that.
Now, final question for you. That division is tough. You got the Detroit Lions, who seem very good. The Green Bay Packers, probably better than anyone. They just continue to find these franchise quarterbacks. And then the Chicago Bears have a very good offseason. How many wins do you think we see the Minnesota Vikings pick up this year, and where do they finish in the division?
Yeah, that is a pretty tough question. I know that the wins over under was set around 7, and I know that the odds suggested that bettors were thinking it was under that number by a little bit, so maybe 6.5, 6. I think that kind of makes sense. It's a pretty tough schedule, especially at the beginning. I'd probably take the over 7.5, maybe 8, but it's always easy to be optimistic when you're covering one team. But I think Sam Darnold looks good. I think that defense is going to be a lot better. Like you said, that division is really tough. It's the Lions are the king of the division. The Packers are making a really good push for it. Jordan Love, if he's as good as he was in the second half of the season, which I think there's reason to be skeptical of, but I think that that's a fair assessment that he could be that good again. Then he's going to be a potential top 5 quarterback in the NFL, which, geez, it's been like 30 years, man, bringing in a new defensive coordinator for the Packers, I think that's going to be really good for them. And so it's going to be tough, that top 2. And I have Caleb Williams look really good in the preseason. He looked so good. And so, the Bears, who have done a really good job adding a lot of talent over the last 3 years, without getting a ton of results, but a lot of people that I think are really very good. I think the Bears could even threaten for 3rd or possibly 2nd, depending on kind of how these other teams shake out, which put the Vikings in a really difficult spot. It's not often that you get a 6, maybe 7-win team as 4th in the division.
Arif, really appreciate coming on the show today. Glad to have it. It's going to be a fun season out in Minnesota. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There you go. Arif Hassan covers the Minnesota Vikings with Wide Left Football. And it's going to be a fun one to watch the Vikings this year. That division is going to be tough, but I think they're going to find a way to be competitive. Very well coached. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show and we'll get to a special edition of Cam Tate's 2-Minute Warning. It's the Jason Gregor Show here on Sports 1440. Also, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook, brought to you by playalberta.ca.
You don't work for GMC, but it's kind of like you do because you pay what we pay. GMC employee pricing is on now on all 2024 GMC Sierra half-tons and Hummers. Oh, but at Wolf GMC Buick, it's even better. Get GMC employee pricing on every in-stock 2024 GMC. If it's new and a 2024 and it has that beautiful GMC logo on it, then it's GMC employee priced. Pay what we pay, but only until August 26th. Get into Wolf GMC Buick now and see the over 200 GMCs in stock.
The only thing as hot as the weather this summer is a night out at On the Rocks. Every weekend, enjoy live music and top DJs spinning your favorite tracks. The dance floor is the place to be. Celebrating a birthday or stagette? Let OTR take the work out of the planning for you. Book your party online at ontherocksedmonton.com. Join OTR every evening from 4 p.m. for a great atmosphere and good company. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Grab your Good Vibe Drive and head to On the Rocks, corner of Jasper Ave and 118th Street.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
Why tee off at the Ranch Golf and Country Club?
A fun, unique layout offering premier conditions. The Ranch has been ranked as one of the top public courses in Canada.
Unmatched value. Score Golf Magazine rated the Ranch as the best value in Edmonton.
The service, from tournaments to special events to the pro shop. Superior service that makes every visit exceptional.
The Ranch Golf and Country Club, a laid-back environment where anyone can enjoy an amazing day on the fairways. For details, visit theranchgolf.com.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the words. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
At Toyota, we understand life's full of winning moments, like winning shotgun in an epic game of rock, paper, scissors. Boom. Paper covers rock, Carl. And we design our award-winning vehicles with your needs in mind, giving you a front row seat to all life's victories. Except you, Carl. You're in the back. It's time for everyday wins. It's time to Toyota. Lease a 2024 Tundra 4x4 double cab SR5 from $159 weekly for 60 months at 5.99% with $6,599 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
Show here on Sports 1440. Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, Declan Kruger, and Donovan Paulson with you here. Brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca in the eWell studio. Man, heated debate just broke out about fried chicken. There's no free advertisement. There's a new spot open in the mall, though.
Yeah, unless you're paying Jason Gregor and co., you're not getting a word out of us.
No. We like McDonald's.
Yeah.
We get our food at GS Construction. And we love it.
Whatever they make, we're in. But McDonald's. Oodle Noodle.
I was going to say, I hope somebody says Oodle Noodle, not me.
Yeah.
Love Oodle Noodle.
Love a good Oodle Noodle. Papa John's, give me that brownie.
Was that it?
Well, I would probably get like a pepperoni pizza too. Oh, no. Pep and bacon.
Shaq-a-roni.
Shaq-a-roni's good when it's out there.
What's that?
Shaq hand delivers you a pizza. And it's awesome. I don't know how he makes all the trips, but he does.
It's like Santa. It's magic.
It's awesome.
The crispy, cuppy pepperoni from the New York style pepperoni. If you heard Donovan laughing in the background, we were talking about crispy, cuppy pepperoni.
Really?
Yeah, it's good.
What is it?
It's just it's special. I can't put it into words.
Cup pepperoni.
Cuppy.
I'll get it.
Crispy, cuppy pepperoni.
What's that?
Papa John's, 1999. It was like an old liner we had.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you read a Papa John's liner so many times that you've fallen in love with it.
And now, like, they have the cheeseburgery, ooey gooey, cheesy burger pizza with pickles, burger sauce. That's right, burger sauce.
Delicious.
But I would still go pep and bacon with a brownie.
You ever go Nietzsche's Pizza in St. Albert?
No, we eat Papa John's in this.
We eat Papa John's here.
I understand. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm simply saying it exists. Surely the other ones will admit it.
I heard one shut down.
It's a very delicious place to eat, but eat at Papa John's by all means.
You and Sean Brown here.
Time.
You and Sean Brown.
What'd he do?
He was the voice of Nietzsche's Pizza for a long time.
Was he really?
Yeah. One time he just brought some in. It was awesome.
No kidding.
But not as awesome as Papa John's.
Papa John's is the most delicious.
Use code word Gregor, 20% off all day, every day at Papa John's. We're going to get to Cam Tate's 2-minute warning. He wanted to chime in on the whole Elk situation. Of course, in case you missed it, Larry Thompson, new owner of the Green and Gold, and of course, Cam Tate, a longtime member of the media here in our city, has cerebral palsy, unable to do radio in the traditional fashion, but he gets his words into us, and we're going to get to his thoughts, I believe, on the Green and Gold right now.
Connor, big news day. A new private ownership for the Edmonton Elks. Larry Thompson and his wife Deb were introduced as a little after 11:30. Great news. Thompson was introduced to private. There's the hot dog of the day word, private. Could be a beacon, indeed. For the entire Canadian Football League as a coming out party with only two clubs, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders being the only community-owned teams remaining. Coming out party, yes, and here's why I say that. Think about a mom and pop's business. Take your pick. Service station, grocery store, a hardware store becoming. Get ready for this. Imperial Oil or Safeway or Canadian Tire. The same thing with the CFL and specifically the Edmonton Elks today. If the CFL wasn't a big league before, it certainly is now. And we need to rate it. Thompson is a fan. Dressed in a colorful shirt and burgundy jacket Thursday, and jeans, who remarkably pointed to his season seats in Commonwealth Stadium during his introductory remarks. Season ticket holder Thompson said since 1972, he remembers driving in from his family home in Gibbons. The fan part intrigues me. I mean, you have to tell me, absolutely. Thompson is going on the team trip to Hamilton Friday to Saturday. Watch the Elks play the Hamilton Ticats, another privately owned team. He will watch the game as a fan, but he will also have his eyes open to learn and do new things. So if I made you make a suggestion, it might be an opportunity for the Elks to put some resources into funding a CFL video game. A very quick internet investigation reveals such a thing doesn't exist because of, you guessed it, money. So what if a hotshot young computer gamer from the Edmonton area was commissioned to design a computer game with CFL nuances coming out of the motherboard? By doing so, the Elks have the great potential of creating new stakeholders for the Elks, for kids, right? Kids like my 3 grandsons who are on their tablets 25 hours a day. Just imagine if we got even 10% of the kids who play Minecraft engaged, another keyword, engaged in the CFL video game. And when they're old enough to go to Elks games, they are properly educated, and there's a get ready for that word, engagement. Congratulations, Mr. Thompson. We absolutely wish you well. At the 2-minute warning with Cam Tate, Sports 1440.
There you go. Cam Tate's words on the CFL, Canadian football video game. There was actually Canadian Football 2017 that was created. It was for Windows and Xbox One. I didn't play it. We tried to get the creators on our show at the time to discuss it. I don't know how that well it worked for us, but I mean, the CFL, there's no real bad idea. Like, we have to find ways to grow this game and get the kids into it. For me, it was a 60,000 attended game. 60,000 people attended a game, and I was coincidentally there and was like, this is unbelievable. I'm coming back. Season tickets the next year. For Wanye, I don't know. What made you intrigued? The beer?
No, my grandparents were really into the Eskimos.
There you
and
go.
They would go with all their neighbors. So they had like a whole little zone in Section W that they used to sit in. And so as a little kid, I went along because that's sort of what you did. I loved it though.
It was just the best. I've talked about it tons of times. Just having the ability to bring food in back in the day. We'd have like Italian center subs, bring in our Slurpees. The security would always smell them. Probably trying to see if it's like vodka. We were
pure
16.
rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. We were just drinking Pepsi 7-Eleven Slurpees. That's all it was. But yeah, it was good times. And it was appointment viewing. People would make sure they got out there. I remember, they were taking requests because they didn't want to play their games on Saturdays, I think, because that was cabin time for people going out of the city. So they'd have to make sure there's like a lot of Thursday night games one season and things like that. But people did what they could to get out there. And now Larry Thompson, it's on him to try to get us back to that level. Aaron texted in on the topic of fictional characters for your Mount Rushmore. Icebox from the Little Giants, Happy Gilmore, Crash Davis from Bull Durham, and Jesus Shuttleworth. So Ray Allen. That's one Declan actually had. Icebox was a beast at the linebacker position, I believe. Little Giants played like the little Cowboys, I think, in that movie. Whipping toilet paper down the aisles at a grocery store. Did you see that?
I feel like I've been living underground in some sort of research bunker because I have no idea what you're talking about.
So you didn't see Little Giants then?
The very name. How can something be a little and a giant at the same time? They cancel out.
Wanye, have you seen a movie before?
Have I seen a movie? Yes, one movie.
It was
The Matrix, like a normal person, Connor.
It was kids playing football. Their team was the Giants, but they were just the little version. That's all.
Oh, I see.
Wanya, you're back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You
Sean
betcha,
Brown,
buddy.
Declan, me, Donovan will all be here. The crew's all here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Hopefully you'll be back as well today on the show. John Hodge of 3 Down Nation, Will Backus from CBS Sports. We had Wanye, Terry Ryan, Colin Livingston, Eddie Steele, Speck, and Arif Hassan. If you missed it, go check out the podcast and make sure you subscribe and set up the auto download. We would appreciate it. Hey, we're like always top 50 in the podcast. There's got to be a reason why. It's good content. Keep it going here. And we'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Coming up, we got another edition of Turn Sports from 6 till 9. And then Fox Sports Radio all night. Carry us back tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Right now, we'll get to a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Rhoda Exclusive, an exclusive membership with luxury assets such as magnificent holiday parties, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, boats, and more. Travel, drive, and relax in style. Join now at RhodaExclusive.com. Limited openings.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
In 40 update. One last time for me today. A new chapter in Edmonton football history as Larry Thompson has officially been announced as the new owner of the club. Thompson, a lifelong fan of the Double E, becomes the first private owner in club history. The Green and Gold had been community owned ever since the club's founding in 1949, and with the purchase, there are now just two community-owned teams left in the league in the CFL. In the MLB World Cup finals from earlier today was the Athletics over the Mets 7-6. Mariners fell to the Tigers 2-1. It was the Brewers over the Dodgers 6-4. Giants over the Braves 6-0. And 2 games in action right now. Orioles leading the Red Sox 3-1. And the Phillies up big on the Nats 9-0 in the bottom of the 4th. One other game that gets going in about 10 minutes here. We will see the Minnesota Twins out in Texas taking on the Rangers. 3 games in the WNBA today, including 2 that start in about 5 minutes' time. Here, the Phoenix Mercury in Chicago taking on Angel Reese and the Sky. The Washington Mystics in Minnesota taking on the Lynx. Then at 7, it is the Brianna Stewart and the New York Liberty in LA to take on the Cameron Brinksless LA Sparks. NFL news as Jim Harbaugh has announced he wants to hire Colin Kaepernick for the Chargers coaching staff, adding him as a QB coach for the team. Russell Wilson set to make his Steelers preseason debut for the club, and the Falcons have made a splash, signing Justin Simmons on a 1-year, $8 million deal. The former 2-time Pro Bowler will be paired with Jesse Bates in the safety group. CFL Week 11 action gets going tonight as the Ottawa Redblacks are in Calgary taking on the Stampeders. Kickoff for that one at 7 p.m. our time. That's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Up next is Turn Sports. Fox Sports Radio will be on at 9. Kevin Carius and Brandon Douglas back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And on behalf of Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz, and Donovan Paulson, I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 Update.